Scooby-Dooby-Doo, who pooped in the chili? It was me and you. Da-dooby-dooby. Hello, 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 legions worldwide and across the galaxy. It is I, the marvelous Mike D, joining you once again for the Whatcha Been Watchin podcast, joined as always by my co-host, cohort, and youngest brother.
MD3 Marcus Dudley checking in on the YOU. What's going on out there in podcast land? We are broadcasting live from so many multiple locations. I can't even begin to list it.
Son.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very, very special show. Our good friend from our brothers in arms over at the Conscious Approach, we have Mr. JV Wins himself. You That's already know what it is.
That is right. That is right. I am so happy to be here.
Yes, sir.
Oh, we got it cracking, baby. I can't wait.
Man, see, here's the thing, is what y'all don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast before. We're just going to give you a little backstory here. There probably would be no Whatcha Been Watchin podcast if it was not for the Conscious Approach, as my guy, Jay, here, has been on a journey through blogging and everything, and his resilience alone just made me just want to go, you know what, just do it and put it out there. It doesn't matter.
Hey,
so
listen,
I appreciate that.
Hey, listen, M. Duddy's, he flatters me. He flatters me. All I did was answer a few of his questions whenever he called, and I, tried to give him the correct answers to the best of my ability. And if I couldn't give him the correct answers, I tried to give him some resources so that he can go find the answers for himself. So this would have happened whether I would have been involved or not. But my involvement is something that I do take a lot of pride in, because I'm happy to be a part of the fact that the Whatcha Been Watchin podcast did at least at some point reach out to your boy for a little bit of assistance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And before we also get started, I want to apologize to those that love my dear friend, Mr. JV Wins. I've been butchering his name on purpose for like almost 20 years now, and I'll tell a quick backstory on that. We worked at a certain barbecue establishment back in the day.
Yeah,
That's right.
And our owner came in really, one server already said his name wrong all the time. And that was just kind of like, whatever. Like Dottie just said it wrong all the time, no matter what. And then the owner came in one time and called a family meeting, a barbecue meeting amongst all the staff. And he was telling us how much he appreciates us very drunkenly and clearly on cocaine for a solid about 35 minutes.
All right.
And at the end, he was telling us how much he loves and we appreciate us, and this doesn't go without us. And he looks at my friend and he's like, and Javis over here. And he said his name so wrong that it got burned into my memory, because he just knew in that moment. It was like, oh, you really care about us, do you? And so I've been saying his name wrong. And so to the people that love him, I've been saying it wrong intentionally for so long that I actually have to think about how to say his name correctly. And that's so, if you hear him, I'm not making fun of him. I am not trying to pick on him in any way. It is actually all terms of endearment. So for those that love him dearly, please know it's just been many, many years ago. Ciao.
That's right. Yeah. They'll appreciate that edification. By the way, just an additional thought on this guy who called this barbecue meeting. This is the same person who drove up to his restaurant in an Aston Martin and pulled and grabbed a 6-pack of beer, walked into the restaurant and told everybody that it's because of their hard work that he was able to purchase that car. So just to give you some insight on the kind of human that we were dealing with who called me out by my wrong name.
That's right. Well, boss, I sure do wish I could have worked harder. Maybe I'd have gotten you too. I don't know.
That was the joke, in fact.
I wish I had 4 hands. I'd work twice as fast.
That was the exact joke right there. Yeah, man. We had a fan going in the dog days of summer, and he came in and he took the fan away. He was like, it's blowing the heat off the grill. It's like 1,000 degrees back there with a smoker. It's blowing the heat off the grill.
Sir, I don't think you understand how fans or grills work.
Yeah, the ice is cooling the temperature too much. Get rid of that.
Well, yeah, he was a joy killer. He didn't want us listening to music. He said it was disruptive to working in the kitchen. No music. This guy was the same guy who made us put plastic bags in the metal pans to preserve as much of the mac and cheese as possible, because he didn't even want the crusty parts at the bottom being unusable. He needed every morsel of those mac and cheeses and green beans to be servable. So we ended up putting Ziploc bags tied with a rubber band onto metal pans to be heated up in heating wells. That is true. I am not making this up.
It's all weight. It's all weight. We pay by weight. How miserable do you have to be?
Look, last thing on this one, okay? This tells you all you need to know about this human once again, okay? This person fired me personally in 2012.
Uh-oh.
In 2016, I went back to go work there because he was no longer involved in the company. Why was he no longer involved in the company? Because his own father saw how much of a toxic individual he was and fired him.
Oh.
And bought the stores back from him. This is the kind of when your own pops is like, bro, you can't be here anymore. This is too much. I'm gonna get rid of you. That tells you all you need to know about this guy.
No, you're going too wild. Going too wild.
Dude. So me and my good friend Jay here have a bond that was understood of just I think I felt bad because I left my guy high and dry when I was supposed to work a double, but I had a night before, and let's just say that morning was the day I woke up and I just realized I didn't work at this place anymore. But it was like a week before that I saw through the Matrix, and it was like we were doing an all-you-can-eat rib selling, right? And the ribs on the plate, a single plate, were worth $9.99 a plate. Now we were the busiest barbecue in all of America. This chain restaurant, we were the busiest. It was like for like 13 months straight. And so we sold so many plates of $9.99 ribs. I made $9.90 an hour, and I just looked down at the ribs and I looked at my paycheck and I saw it visualized in my hand, and I looked back at the ribs and I was like, they're ordering more of that. I was like, this is worth more on a plate than I'm worth an hour, and I couldn't unsee it. Yeah. And the quality of my work drastically dropped worse than it already was.
Oh, you know what? I don't give a fuck anymore.
I couldn't unsee it, dude. I couldn't unsee it. There was no math that was saving it.
They believe that $9.90 an hour was like, you should be grateful. I think that may have been the more egregious part, though. It's like we're already making these pennies on the dollar compared to this food, but their attitude was that we should be grateful that we're making that much. It's like, are you kidding? We're paying you $9.90.
Right. I always hated that manager speech of like, oh, well, you don't have to work here. It's like, well, you also don't have to be an asshole, but yet here we are.
Yeah, toxicity at its finest, man. And I'm glad that you refrained from mentioning the name of the place all the way through, because I do the exact same thing on our show. I always keep the identity of that place shrouded in mystery. I let people know they can look it up if they want, but I am not going to give it the dignity of mentioning it by name on this channel.
The information is there if you care to pick up the breadcrumbs. But
that is right. That is right.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. So anyways, that's just our backstory. Our good friend Jay here, he does a podcast web show, I suppose, called The Conscious Approach. You want to tell him a little bit about it, my friend, before we dive into the episode proper?
Yeah, sure. So Conscious Approach, you can look us up on YouTube. We're also on Instagram and TikTok at Con Approach, CONAPPROACH. But Conscious Approach is essentially me and my good friend Dogon SS. We discuss certain relevant topics going on in the cultural zeitgeist, and we give our opinions. I call it your garden variety social commentary. So sports, music, media, a little bit of politics, culture, and society. If it falls into any of those buckets, we take pop culture topics going on in the world at the time, and then we give our own opinionated spin on it. The idea behind the platform isn't necessarily to engage in celebrity gossip. It just so happens that in this culture, celebrity gossip is what catches the algorithm.
Sure.
So we use the celebrity stories to then extrapolate and take a step back and talk about greater societal implications, if that makes sense. So you might see a topic in which we're discussing something crazy that Cardi B said. It isn't necessarily because we want to talk about Cardi B per se, but it's because the comment that she made is indicative of a deeper rooted thing that we need to talk about and give some insight on. And we do that. We run the gamut on that over at Conscious Approach. We are hundreds of videos strong. We may even be in the triple digits in live streams at this point. So we are expanding the library, and the effort that we have put into that channel has been all organically driven. Not a single dollar has been spent trying to beg Google to serve us up on the algorithm. I abhor the tactic, to be quite frank with you. I refuse to spend money on this stuff. And so we have 1.27K subs at this point.
Nice.
Trying to keep it going, You know, we're two working class guys, so we're not full-time content creators. We can't devote 5-6 hours per day on this. We basically devote several hours per week, and within that context, we've been able to grow it to where it is now. But I invite anybody who does like to get into opinions on society and culture with a little bit of a pop culture spin, go ahead and check us out. We have a lot of fun.
It is one of my favorite shows on the web, truly. And here you'll learn something about me. It's like the reason why he's on here. It's like I'm a fan of people. Like I want to interact with people that I'm a fan of. Like when I did music, everybody raps, but you're like, oh, cool, yeah, you rap, awesome. But like I want to make music with the people I'm a fan of. And so I say this, and I've talked to Jay about this a million times. Like I'm a legit fan of his show. That just keep it logical out there. And I'm surprised he didn't say friend of the channel, Cardi B, because there's certain rules. I think, what is it, 3 times, 4 times you get discussed, you bring
3.
content.
Yeah,
okay.
3. Yeah, that is the
friend
rule.
of the show.
When we've used you as a topic at least 3 times, you officially become friend of the channel. That is how we call you at that point. Good or bad. That don't mean it's a good thing. It just means it's a thing. You have existed on this show for a minimum of 3 topics. Therefore, you are a friend of the channel. Doesn't mean you're gonna like what we're saying about you, but hey, it is what it is.
Now, do you guys do like when you discuss these things, do you do any sort of like back research, or is it, just sort of reading articles and just dissecting them? Yeah, basically we research articles. The research does come into play depending on the topic. So every now and again, if it depends on how I feel about it. So I'll give you an example. We did a topic discussing, I think it was Cam Newton, and the fact that he was getting called a womanizer because he has several children by several different women. So based upon my reaction to that and the insight that I have, I just went into some census articles and pulled up some simple statistical data on like the prevalence of single parenthood and how that's split between like gender and all of that kind of stuff. So depending on what it is that you want to talk about, it may warrant you doing a little additional research, but by no means is that a requirement. It's just whatever your insight is, as long as you feel passionate about what you're talking about, you'll pretty much pass the bar. But if you want to be more convincing in terms of, yeah, this person does know what he's talking about, or she, doing research is certainly something that can help bolster the effort. But, it depends on what we're talking about. But yeah, me personally, depending on the subject matter, I do like to kind of go dig into the crate and find some numbers and some facts just to reinforce what I'm talking about. Because a lot of people online these days, they'll go and they'll fact check you. So one thing that I have been very conscientious of is being fact checked. And what I try to do is I always open up myself to be proven wrong. I don't care about being wrong about stuff. So if I have an opinion and I get new information which causes me to change my opinion, I'm not averse to that. But if I do have a strong opinion about something, before I take it to the channel, I'm going to research it with some factual information first, just to make sure that I'm not now an internet gas bag, just having an opinion for the sake of having it, even though there's all kinds of information out there when presented that can show my opinion is not necessarily the right one. So I just like to safeguard myself against that, because even though I'm not afraid of being wrong, I do genuinely enjoy being right. So yeah. Well, I want to let you know, man, we don't do research here. We don't fact check. You can just shoot straight from the hip. If you got a hot take that you want to put out there, man, this is the place to do it, and we will back you up. So
I love it.
Don't worry about that. We like to keep it silly and irreverent here. So just I'm
ready. I love it. Hey, Hey, if you love it, I love it, and y'all love
That's
it
right.
because I'll listen
I'm
to this
telling you.
one. So then I
Right.
love it too.
Welcome
what's
to the
up.
Baseless Facts podcast.
I know. Wild. We call it the Wild Speculation Podcast. Like, you know, it'd be cool in Doomsday. Two dooms. You ever thought about having two dooms?
Over on Con Approach, I like to call it reckless speculation. So whenever I'm about to engage in anything like that, I preface my comment by saying I'm about to engage in some reckless speculation.
I respect
Which
it.
is something that I actually stole that from Dan Lebitard, who's a big sports guy based down here in Miami. So I can't even say I took credit for that when I stole that from him.
It's right to use.
Good idea is a good idea.
Yeah.
It's like just real quick before we move on. Like and I've told you, I can, when I'm asking, like, why are you a fan of this? I can tell you why. Like, even when you or Dogon are wrong, shout out to Dogon, skirt. Don't ever get off. He's so funny, man. Even when I do disagree with you guys, you know, which is usually I'm in at least the same ballpark, but there are times I'm like, a bridge too far, maybe, or whatever. Right. I'm never mad because you can at least logically explain how you got there. It's not just like me where I'm like, F the Yankees for life. And that's the take of the Whatcha Been Watchin podcast. And they're like, why? You've never been to a Yankees game in your life. I'm like, I don't know. I'm from the South. That's what it is. But like, there's no argument against it. You guys at least walk me to the point of like, I see how you got there, even if I disagree, which is at least nice to see on the internet, because most people are just like, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, cool. Like, right. I can't follow the logic on that. Like, you're just passionate because you chose it. Now I'm going to Google what I want to be true. And it's like, I can't.
Whatever. You're gay.
Yeah. That's what people do. People just, they stay in their echo chambers. So the vast majority of people who consume online content, they're going to go or gravitate towards, content that reaffirms what they already believe. So most people don't even give themselves the opportunity to be proven wrong about anything. Most people just stay in the echo chamber. So you're going to get that no matter what. It's actually flattering for people to do that to you, because it means that they ventured outside of the chamber, found you, and then extended that hate to you. But the point of that whole experience is they ventured outside the chamber. So like when they venture outside the chamber and they find you, I mean, they're going to bring their ridiculousness over to your neighborhood for sure. But you somehow got them outside the chamber, which in and of itself is like flattering. I love that stuff, man. So
I've never thought of it that way before. Yeah. Even show up on their radar should say something about what you're doing.
Yeah. So like if they get on, if you get a troll who's in your comments and they're like telling you how dumb you are or how ill-informed you are, or how ridiculous your opinion is, trust me, because you guys are logical as well. If they got there, it's because they ventured outside the chamber. They ventured outside the chamber because they're going to do that to anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. Right. So if they do it, it's indicative of the fact that they exist outside the chamber, because of course, when they're in the chamber, they're not going to do that because they're just agreeing with everything whoever they're consuming says, right? So if they
whatever the algorithm puts in front of them, that's what they're gonna consume and replicate or regurgitate. Yeah,
absolutely. So if they're engaging in all that irrational response making, it means they're outside the chamber, which means that they're doing it with you. It means that they ventured out and found you. So just take that as for what it's worth, man, because the internet is undefeated when it comes to irrational voices. You're never going to beat it.
Right.
You're never going to beat it. You just have to learn how to extrapolate the goodness that can come from it, because there's goodness there, and you can just ignore everything else. Just like filter it out. It's almost like it didn't exist.
Wise man.
Words of wisdom. This is
Ladies and gentlemen, the conscious approach. Lock in where you can.
Dropping pearls before swine right now.
Oh, well, snap. Ladies and gentlemen, the opening song done by Kesta. You know where to find us on the socials, on the Gmail at Whatcha Been Watchin podcast at gmail.com. If you found this show on YouTube, click on it. There's our links. I'm not going to run through them.
Right.
Without
also,
any
hit
further,
that like and subscribe button, please.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
have to, we got to pander. So here you go.
The digital gods must be appeased.
I know, right?
That's right. You got to do it, man. People need to be reminded, man. You got to do it over and over again. It sucks, but it's necessary. So
can you do me a favor, Jay? Can you hit them with the digital currency spiel? I love it. I want to steal this and
Hey, listen, man. Like I say over on Conscious Approach, go ahead and subscribe to the What You've Been Watching podcast. Hit the like button, comment on the channel, engage with the content where and all possible. As an individual who does not subscribe to 90% of the content that I consume, whenever I do make the effort to hit that subscribe button, it is indicative of the value that I receive from that content. So when you subscribe to What You've Been Watching podcast, it means that you receive value from this show, which is the highest possible form of flattery. We certainly don't take it for granted. So hit that subscribe button, because we are more complimented than ever by the idea that you receive value from the content that we provide. And if it's the highest form of flattery over on Conscious Approach, it is the highest form of flattery also over on the What You've Been Watching podcast. We understand the effort and the commitment involved in saying, I want to get a notification whenever something happens on this particular channel. We don't take it for granted. So please hit that subscribe button.
I've asked him if I could record that before. Now I got it.
Hot diggity damn. I'm fucked up now. I got some gas in my ass. Let's do this.
I've been wanting that for so long. Oh my gosh. Without further ado, my oldest brother, Michael. Man, what you been watching, my guy?
My man, recently went and saw the children's classic Toy Story 5.
Okay. I've seen that. How'd you like it?
I gotta say, it's not my favorite one. I mean, I think personally, after 3, they kind of started going downhill, but I did like this one more than 4. Maybe that's just because I've only seen 4 once and it was a while ago, so maybe I just don't remember it that well. But I do remember walking away from this one thinking like, I think I like this one more than 4. It's a really interesting story about finding your roots and also letting go of them. It's about learning how to grow from your trauma and from the experiences of your childhood into, not necessarily letting them define you, but I hate to say using them as a foundation, but finding solid ground among them. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm tracking, but I've also seen the movie, so I know what you're stepping in. I know a lot of people were like, oh, they bait and switched. They brought Jesse in. Like, I thought the story worked better with Jesse, and quite frankly, like, Woody really has no agency in this. He could not be in this movie. Like, he just kind of shows up. It was like, oh, Woody's bald now, but like, he could be not in the movie and the movie still works just fine. But
I totally agree. Yeah,
the overall moral I liked of it is like Jesse, just without spoiling, it's gonna be on streaming any day now. We're gonna spoil it some.
And don't worry about you can spoil it for me.
Okay.
I'm gonna watch it eventually anyway. So
right. But Jesse's kind of going through this thing of like the tablet comes in, right? And it's very, you can't really talk about the movie without kind of getting a little bit preachy. And it does kind of do like, ooh, the tablets are bad and the children's imaginations are running away. But also the one thing I did appreciate that it did was it framed it as like, yeah, that is true, but also all of her friends are all on the tablet all the time. So now this child is now a social outcast, and the fact if she has no way to actually play with her friends and connect with them. And so that is the world we're living in. So it is one of those like, yeah, you want to go out and use your imagination, but like if all your friends are at school or using the thing and you're like, I don't have the thing, you're outcast, And so it kind of makes the tablet like the enemy of the times more than it does just like, yes, it is the enemy of the story, but they kind of spin it that way. And I like the fact that Jessie, and by the end, she's finding out like her former, like, I guess is owner a bad word to say or whatever, like
her former child.
Her former child, that used to play with her, or whatever, like, moved on and stuff like that. And the overall moral of just being like, I was the right person for that child at that time in their life, and there's something to be said for that. That those moments that were built, while they weren't forever, like, that was still a foundational piece of who they were, and I wouldn't trade those forever. And so instead of just chasing the past, it's just kind of reflecting on what is. I kind of like that overall moral in it. That part I got more along with than I did the like technology bad, imagination good. Like,
right. And that was kind of my main problem with the movie is it really just presents this dichotomy of like, yes, the times are changing and children are losing their imagination, but they're gaining accessibility and immediacy with their friends, It's not necessarily the days of going over to play, you know, House or GI Joes at your friend's house is gone. Now you just, you know, you click on the Xbox, you sign up, and you guys play Gears of War or what have you together. Like it's progression of the times. And so yes, there is that loss of imagination. The problem is that the movie never really presents a solution either way. It's just sort of like, well, this is a problem. What are we going to do about it? I don't know. Find a way to play online and into digital realm, and also like, we should probably keep imagination as a valuable asset, but it never really explains how to do that.
The value is I'll see you for number 6.
right. When it's all resolved and we never mention it again.
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear you guys say that. So, you know, full disclosure, I have not seen Toy Story 5 yet, but I did see 1 through 4. First of all, I agree with Mike 100%. I thought the apex of this. I thought the apex of it was Toy Story 3. I fully expected for there to be no more movies after Toy Story 3. Those expectations, of course, were violated. I really thought, and I thought that 3 was the crescendo. I remember going to watch 3, and I wish I could remember who I was with, which says a lot about me. But I remember the person that I was with when we went to see Toy Story 3 during the climax of the movie when they were almost incinerated. Like, she's like literally crying tears. Like the movie was so weighty at that point. It was like the culmination of everything that had happened since the first movie. And it was like actually emotional. Like, this animated movie was that weighty and emotional. I was like, chef's kiss in terms of that being the end of the franchise. But there's too much money to be made, and that's how Hollywood is. So they kept it going. But it's interesting to hear what you said about the themes of the 5th movie, because I find that very fascinating. Nowadays, no one wants to be told how to think in entertainment. It's one of those areas where it's like, just shut up and entertain me. They do it in sports too. I don't want to know what you think about any sort of social issue at all. Just entertain me so that I can unplug my brain. Right. It sounds like in this movie, they introduced a little bit of that social commentary into Toy Story 5 by setting the stage for that dichotomy between digital and personal interfacing. Is kind of what it seems like. Is there a ton of pushback against that? Because it kind of sounds like the movie is trying to tell everybody, hey, even though these technologies are great, it's better if we use them only to a certain extent, but remember how great it is to still do things in person and interact in person and those kinds of things. And if it's preachy to a certain level, I would imagine people would become resistant, just because the default position for a lot of people is to just resist things when they feel like they're being talked to.
I feel like the main resolution of the movie is the girl in question, Bonnie, finds her online digital friends, and then she finds a new friend that actually likes playing toys and imagination with her. So I guess the solution is get a variety of friends. But as far as, is that a viable solution, or is that really the message you're trying to put forward in terms of like, oh, well, just people like doing different things, so go find your separate crews? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I think it does frame some pushback in the fact of like the importance of her like going to this party and like, oh, I don't have my tablet. And then like there's old outdated technology that then got cast aside as well. And they're like, well, we were the hot thing just a second ago.
Right.
So they do kind of touch on the pushback of it a little bit in terms of like, there's a montage of her just like all the other toys are just sitting there flopped over and, you know, toy mode or whatever. And she's just like night and day. She comes home, gets on it, plays with a friend. You know what I mean? Like, that's all it is. The only thing I would say that it doesn't, I don't even know if it pushes back on it. It does do something that I actually agree with. And I tell, you know, I was around young men, you know, dating somebody who had, you know, sons that were, you know, of a certain age. Like, one of them hadn't started driving yet when I first met her. And like, he was so quick to grow up. And it was like, and I get that boys will be boys. It's like, you want to steal cigarettes and stuff like that. But it's like, man, like, you are 13. Like, when you stop doing this, you got plenty of time to do all that other stuff. Like, enjoy it while you have it. You know what I mean? And that's, so there is some of that in the terms of like Bonnie trying to be forced to keep appearances. Like, but I'm not interested in those things. I'm interested in being a kid. And so that was the message I kind of agree with. Is I mean, I am kind of a big proponent on that. And I'm not. This isn't to make fun of you. Like I see a Dreamcast in the background. That brings me great joy to see. Like my memories of that too. Like when a Ninja Turtle movie comes out, I'm like, I want to go see that because I don't want the kid in me to die. You know what I mean?
Why do you think I set this up behind me? You wouldn't be offending me. I did this for a reason.
Yeah. Like I got MVC2 ready to go at any time.
I got it right. I got it too. It's right behind.
Like all he does is let the clock run out and hit me with Cable's Viper Beam. Yes, that's all the fuck I do. He plays keep away and builds meter, then Viper Beam. But yep, that's it.
But I just wonder, you know, because I haven't been keeping up with what people are saying about that, which probably answers my question in that there isn't very much pushback. But I wonder whether there's any element of the viewing audience who's saying, "Don't tell me how my kid is supposed to feel about technology, or don't tell me how I'm supposed to feel about technology, because I feel how I feel, and so get out of here with you once again, Hollywood elites trying to tell me how I'm supposed to think about something."
No, I don't think there's much pushback in terms of that. I think the only real pushback is that it's kind of the movie just kind of meanders and it's kind of just pointless. It asks a question without offering a statement or any sort of resolution. So I think that's really where the pushback comes from is that it's just like, in terms of it being a Toy Story movie, it's just a little disappointing.
Yeah.
There was far more pushback that I read about it being a bait and switch. I mean, like, I thought it was going to be Woody and Buzz. Like, you didn't get enough of them for 4 movies, and then like pivots to like Jesse, and they're like, it's a girl movie. Like really, dude? Like,
there you go.
That was more pushback about that I read. So
that's what I was. Yeah, and that's just gonna happen. I was gonna say, like, at least they didn't make like a black toy the lead, or or at least they didn't gender swap. Like, you know, at least they didn't gender swap any characters, because then there would have been a 5 sale alarm on that. Like, everybody would have been complaining about Toy Story at that point.
In comes the Jim Kelly action karate doll.
It's like the people bitching about the Odyssey now. It's like, you're complaining about historical accuracy about a movie with a Cyclops and sirens. Like, really, dude?
Right.
Well, and not to get off on a tangent, but what makes those kinds of like protests even more absurd is it's based upon like these classical antiquity stories don't have. The only reason why you're mad that Helen of Troy is cast as a black person is because you grew up in elementary school and middle school and high school, where every time you were coming into contact with these stories, these characters were being portrayed looking not like that. So now you've come to internalize that as fact, when in reality, this stuff was written, first of all, as myths thousands of years ago. There's no indication whatsoever what any of these individuals look like. So it just makes the problem with stuff like that even more dumb to me. It's like, how good is the movie, bro? Get over it.
Right.
Yeah. It's like the whole like Elliot Page thing, and people are like, I won't see it because of that. I'm like, if that's your reason, she's in it, or they are in. I'm trying to be not. They are in it for like 3 minutes tops. You know what I mean? And to combine with Lupita Nyong'o, there's like 7 minutes on screen of like a 3-hour movie. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, but I won't see it because of that.
And that
like,
3 minutes ruins the whole movie, Marcus.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yes, yeah. It's I don't know. I think that stuff is interesting, but you know, glad to see that it hasn't been tainted too much with, because I'd hate to see Toy Story get engulfed in controversy, because it's like there are only so many sacred cows left that don't have any sort of controversial aspect tied to it, and Toy Story is one of them. So I just hate to see that happen, man.
It is, like you said, though. Like, I think 3 is a perfect movie, and I probably cried at 3. Yeah, I mean, like, it's an emotional ride, man. Like, and
dude, they're all sliding that garbage hatch down to the incinerator, and they all just calmly hold hands, and they're just welcoming death. That was like, oh man, like I hope I can face my own mortality with such grace and dignity. Like, I want to go kicking and screaming into the fucking do not go gentle into that night. You know what I mean?
Dude, I learned how to cry again after my grandmother died in 2019. Like, I had forgotten how to cry. If I had learned how to cry before I went and watched that movie and went and watched it, I would have had the same reaction.
Yeah.
Because when they were sliding down that thing, holding hands like that, and it was like, is this it? I was like, oh my God, like this is intense. It's just, too much money to be made. They'll make a sixth one too, because this one made over $1 billion, didn't it?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's the third. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the good news is though
They
is
follow
because
the money, not the trends. They follow the money.
But the good news is because this is Pixar's like flagship like franchise. You know what I mean? Like they're still going to treat it with enough reverence that they're not bad movies. You know what I mean? Like, they make an outright bad Toy Story, I'd be like, okay, like Cars 1 was like, you just made a lot of money because you sold so many, like everyone wants to be Lightning McQueen. Like, you're little kids, you're like whatever. And so carry that for 2 movies. I get it. It wasn't like it was a great franchise though, but like Toy Story 1 through 3 is arguably, when you talk about like a perfect trilogy, and it's kind of like it's kind of in that, it's really, really good. The first 3.
Yeah,
I mean, if not top 10, I mean,
it's in rarefied air.
No, for sure. It's as close as you can get possibly to 3 perfect movies in a row. So yeah, I agree with that 100%.
So, but yeah, Michael,
Jaws 1, 2, and 3.
The only one
talk about 4.
The only other one I can kind of think of is like Lord of the Rings is kind of considered a perfect trilogy. A lot of people say the Indiana Jones. They all kind of falter, have a little dip here and there, but overall, you're like Back to the Future 3 with the Cowboys.
Yeah,
is getting close.
I would put the Star Wars trilogy in there. The OG, the first ones, the first 3. So yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right about that. Toy Story's in there though. I don't.
Yeah,
it's just got to be. It's very hard to pull off 3 great movies, even if there is one that's noticeably not as good as the other 2. Cumulatively, like all 3 of them put together, equating to something truly great is hard to pull off.
Yeah,
and Toy Story it's just one of them. It just is.
Agreed.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, Michael, you want to rate Toy Story 5?
Oh, let's see. I am going to give Toy Story 5 a whole, what do they call a group of horses? A herd? A gallop? I'm going to give it a whole gallop of My Little Ponies.
Very fair. Very fair review, because we don't actually use numbers or logical systems here.
That is, well, the power of the internet. Yeah, a group of horses is most commonly called a herd, so that is appropriate.
There you go. All right.
You can go to herd.
Michael, if I'm ever sick, call this guy in. He's really good.
Shit, I'm firing you after this tonight.
Like how we want
you the walking papers.
Jay's just like, this is how the show should be run. Like pulling up my phone, like, let me just dead air here. anyways. Well,
what about you? What are you going to rate it?
Don't grow up too fast, children.
Stay here forever.
Yeah, dude.
Never leave.
That's actually, to be honest, that's why I like Calvin and Hobbes so much, is like they remind me of like, just don't rush it. You know what I mean? Like just enjoy it. And then when you get older, don't lose it. Don't scoff at the things. They're like Ninja Turtles, that's child's crap. Like we've talked about it on the show a million times. Like even if I watch an iteration of the Ninja Turtles, like the Michael Bay ones, they were definitely not for me, but like I'm glad that they still exist. That some young kid is going to look at that and be like, the Ninja Turtles are awesome still. And I'm like,
dude, cool. even like the 1990 movie,
that movie holds up.
If you watch that really isn't a kid's movie like that. It really isn't. I mean, it's the Ninja Turtles is a brooding comic. It's kind of on the same wavelength originally as Batman. Which that might seem strange to some people to hear, but it is, and so if you go back and you watch that as an adult, it holds up like Duddy said, because man, like it was made in the spirit of the original incarnation of the comic, which was darker than what we more routinely know it of now.
Much more violent, much more like brooding. Yeah.
I mean,
almost gothic.
They beat Raphael almost to death and throw him through a skylight. That's a real scene. You're like, oh, it's silly because they're Muppets. But like if you take that out, if that was anybody else, you're like, they beat a teenager to death and threw him through the window. What are we doing here? They're like PG, brought to you by Jim Henson.
Right. Bro, the standards definitely changed, man. Because I remember that vividly. Like I'm watching it as a kid, and I'm like, damn, they are beating they are beating Raph's ass.
Yeah.
You know, and then they tossed him through the skylight, and then they tear up the apartment, and they set the apartment on fire, and the music that's playing is just crazy. Like, you know, but it's just the part about when you become an adult, Marcus, what you said, don't become an adult and just kind of cast this stuff off by the wayside. I think one of the coolest things to see, because really, like, we're all millennials, right? Like, aren't we all? We're all so our generation is the first generation, I would say, that was born with this stuff already existing, and now kind of grew up with it, and now it still exists into perpetuity as we're becoming adults.
Sure.
Like, my older brother is a Gen Xer, and a lot of stuff wasn't created when stuff was already in existence before he was born, but a lot of it wasn't yet. He was born in the late 70s, so there was still some stuff that was being, you know, conceptualized before he came along, like Star Wars, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just really cool to see, or Indiana Jones, right? So it's just really cool to see, like, with our generation, you know, now we're at the point where we're starting to hit, you know, 50, some of us, and a lot of us are still like, you know, essentially 50-year-old kids, you know, going to comic book conventions and stuff like that, still fans of this stuff because it is like a part of our entire life's journey, which is, I think, independent to like older generations.
Well, and I think a lot of that, unfortunately, has to do with, especially for men in our generation. I mean, I don't know how it was for you, but a lot of me and my friends were latchkey kids. And so we were just like, you know, we were very self-independent from a pretty young age. And so we were forced to grow up a lot and, you know, very, very quickly, you know, that whole thing of hold on to your childhood, you know, but, you know, I remember having to drive my brothers wherever they needed to go for school or practice or this, that, the other when I was 16, you know, just because I had, you know, living with whatever parent they're working that night, you know, that's how it's got to go. So I think a lot of that is either debatable, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, a little bit of arrested development in terms of we're trying to hold on to and preserve our childhood. And sort of now that we have, I don't want to say excess income, but, you know, we can afford to buy the things we always wanted and the things that remind us of like, oh, I remember when this first came out, and the feeling of nostalgia and you know, joy that we got from experiencing that for the first time.
We just don't care. They're like, we're not getting houses. It's all going to burn down anyways. Everyone's like, oh, the retro video game bubble boomed during COVID. I'm like, everyone was bored. I'm like, no, it was millennials that thought they had, you know, were supposed to have, you know, excess income at that point. We're like, I'm going to rebuy my childhood because this all sucks.
Well, I want to go buy a house, but I can buy 4 copies of Marvel vs. Capcom on every platform.
Yeah, like that's what it was. It was COVID. I'm like, no, it was millennials just being like, I'm going back.
I agree with that 100%. I think we're the biggest. I think our generation might be the most nostalgic. I think boomers kind of gets that tag more often than not, but I think I to this day still regret selling my Sega Genesis at a kid's garage sale that me and my buddy Jonathan, I had this kid in my name, me and Jonathan Plata. I'll never forget this guy's name. He was my best friend growing up in middle school, and we had this genius idea to put on a kid's garage sale. So I'm kind of part of it I'm kind of proud of, because it's like we were 12 years old doing this, which is like, that's kind of ingenious for 12-year-old kids.
Yeah, young entrepreneur.
Yeah, like we made flyers, and I got on my little Huffy bike and rode up to Publix and tape the flyers to the wall, and we just got a bunch of our old crap and laid them on my front lawn on a Saturday morning, and we did a kids garage sale, completely unsupervised. When I tell you, me and this kid were like 12 years old, 13 years old. No parent had anything to do with any of this.
Nice.
And you know, I sold my Sega Genesis. To this day, I regret it. All the games that came with it. If I can go back and get my Sega back, I would give anything to get my Sega back. This my setup behind me is filled with what I have left. But I wish that I still had my Sega, and just you know, if I can go back as far as I could, I'd do it. But I think that's just kind of in the nature of how we are. I think when push comes to shove, we'll be the ones holding it down more so than any other generation in terms of like making sure we keep the main thing with the influences that we came into contact with over the years.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, two things on that. One, you just gave us a great segue into something. But secondly, fear not, Jay. I've been buying up your childhood video games and spending way too much time. So, but secondly, that's kind of also a little bit. I'm gonna ask a broader question here in a second, and it's gonna lead into whatever we want. But with the Marvel movies, Gen Z is very much saying with their wallets, like, hey, we appreciate the Avengers Infinity Saga, but that was y'all's millennial thing. Y'all have fun with still doing your peace sign in every photo, which I will never stop. And that's for y'all. You know what I mean? That was y'all's thing. We're not really hip to that anymore, except for like the big ones, but like the case by case, everyone, they're just, the money's not showing it, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're not consuming every single morsel of the Marvel universe. They're doing it piecemeal. They're like, all right, I'll tag in with the big cinematic releases and sort of catch up, and then let
because Iron Man came out in 2008.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're pushing 20 years of Marvel cinema. You know what I mean? So even we were young men when this came out, and we were fired up. Like, this is what I always tell people, like, we've waited our whole lives for this.
Yes.
Used to get beat up for liking comic books. Like, you can like them, but like you couldn't like them too much. You know what I mean? Like,
you had to find your tribe. You had to find your tribe. Yeah.
Until Dragon Ball Z hit, like, you could like anime, but don't like anime too much. Like, you know. Dragon Ball Z hit. Dragon Ball Z's cool. That was it. You couldn't start talking about.
You watch Dragon Ball Z? Yeah. You watch Sailor Moon? What? Nothing.
Nothing. Right. And so it's one of those things, man. Like, they were bad for so long that we're just still like, I know Michael and I talk about it all the time. Like, I'm just grateful to still see them. Like, put them in the costumes. Like, I don't know. I'm just hooked
take
for life.
The thing that I grew up with, put it over here in this new format. Add some color and music to it, and I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yeah. If they're like, there's 9 X-Men movie, and 3 of them are pretty damn good. I've been like, what? That's
pretty good. I mean, that's batting 300. That gets you in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, I agree with that, number one. But if I'm being honest, I think Disney and Marvel have a lot to do with the Gen Zers deciding that they are going to divest from Marvel a little bit. I think they made a mistake, in my opinion. I think they made a mistake when they started to make those television shows and make them appointment viewing, because it made it a job at that point.
Yes.
And so if you're not really, we're gonna watch it regardless.
Right.
But even me, I got exhausted.
Yeah.
Because it was just one series after the next, and I started to feel as though I was obligated to do homework instead of it just being an enjoyable experience. I think that they made a mistake, and they got greedy with that because it got to a point. Now they've dialed it back, and they kind of since then they've made it to where the TV universes are just, you don't need to watch those in order to know what's going on with what's happening in the movies. Sure. But for a time, it got real. Like, you don't know, you have no context for Multiverse of Madness if you didn't watch WandaVision. Like, if you didn't watch WandaVision, you're genuinely confused going into Multiverse of Madness. And Multiverse of Madness is a critical movie to understand why we're in the multiverse saga. So you had to have watched that entire season to know why we've gotten to that point. Likewise, if you wanted to keep up with everything and you did want to go watch like the Marvels, for example, you're completely lost if you didn't watch WandaVision and Miss Marvel. If you didn't watch those two shows, you're going into the Marvels with no context whatsoever. I think that turned a lot of people off. I think for us, even me, I divested a little bit, literally because I don't have the time.
Right.
So like, I just can't make sure that I'm there to watch everything if you're going to now make this stuff appointment viewing, so I can catch what I can. So if I, a diehard, am exhausted, then I can only imagine someone else who's not a diehard but likes it is probably like, okay, I'm out. This is too much.
Right. Yeah.
And I, like I said, I think they tried to dial it back, but sometimes it's just too late. Like, it's hard to put the genie back in the bottle. and a lot of people are over it. And then when you combine that with a few questionable creative choices that people don't like, I think it's almost a no-brainer that it's at the point that it's in. It's funny, they mentioned that Secret Wars is supposed to be a way to reset the MCU. And I really do think that that's just code for we're going back to basics and we're going to make it simple. We're going to do a few movies a year, and we're not going to force people to do homework with the Disney Plus shows anymore. Now, will they come right out and say that plainly? Maybe, but I think that it's obvious that that's what it's code for, because they jumped the shark with a lot of that stuff.
Agreed. Yeah. It just the oversaturation of the material, just it became too burdensome. It just became, like, okay, well, now I got to finish WandaVision so I can jump into Loki, so I can jump into Multiverse of Madness, so I can jump into and then. And what I was going to say was it's kind of ironic that happened, because that exact problem happened in the late 90s and early 2000s in the comic book realm, where there were so many titles and so many crossovers, and you had to read, Avengers number 121 to understand what's going on, and Amazing X-Men number 38, and then Astonishing X-Men number 42 would pick up where that story left off. And so there was this, it was all a ploy to get people to start buying different titles that were sagging, but it just became so burdensome to try and keep up with, okay, now I've got to jump from this book to that book, from this writer to that artist to, and then at a certain point, I just don't care. When I have to make all these purchases just to understand this full story that, quite frankly, is overly complicated anyway.
Yeah.
Bag it. Just forget it.
It's exhausting. It is. I learned more about the Infinity Saga playing video games than reading the books, and that's before it got more confusing. But there was a Super Nintendo beat 'em up, Marvel Superheroes War of the Gems, I believe.
Yeah.
Love that game, man. I learned more about, like, that game is what made me start learning, okay, who is Thanos? What is the Infinity Saga? Because I'm sitting here playing this game, and it's a fun game, and I get to beat up bad guys with Wolverine and Spider-Man and all these other characters, but I was none the wiser to the Infinity Saga or Thanos, so that's what made me pick up the books. But it's that kind of stuff that gets you introduced into it. But when you flood the market with way too much content, people are just going to kind of get, like, they're kind of going to get paralyzed. Paralysis by analysis, they call it, where there's just so many different options to choose from in terms of doing something that you spend more time deciding which option to choose than actually watching it.
Right. It's the doom scrolling on Netflix or whatever. You're just rolling through, being like, oh, I should watch that. Oh, I started that one. I should finish that one. Oh, I should start that. Oh, I heard that was good. And then by the time you look around, it's like, wow, it's 4:00 in the morning and I ain't watched shit. I ain't seen nothing.
They got kind of lucky with WandaVision being as successful as it was, because that was the first TV show that they released post the snap. And so that was actually, like, incredibly, like, people watched that a lot. So, like, latching onto that was one thing, and then they kind of stretched it thin with Loki, which, like, Loki has now become crucial viewing to understand the multiverse, right? But, like, even in between that, they did what they did to Star Wars, where they were like, hey, Mandalorian was a hit, and then they're just like, squeeze it, Kathleen Kennedy.
There's
and,
more
like,
blood in this stone.
And Kevin Feige was pretty much, and we've talked about it on the show before, but, like, Kevin Feige was like, they were so busy trying to set up the next movies and the process that they forgot to just make the movie that they were making good. Or, like, they were like with Ant-Man and the Wasp, they were, like, literally handing in rewrites in the final VFX scene, and they're like, we just got we have a month to finish this. And, like, it's ants now. They're like, yeah, that's the only way we could wrap this up. And, like, so I wasn't even mad. It was just like, cool, whatever, man. Like, that's not a process. To the point now where, like, people don't realize this, but Ryan Coogler came out and just announced Black Panther 3. And the big deal is he's saying, like, I'm shooting this on 70mm film. Marvel doesn't do that. And that's why, because now they're trying to get back to the process which they had it originally, where you give up those dailies on digital and you give them directly to the VFX team so they can start making the shot right then, right there, because shit's gonna change. And so what Ryan Coogler is saying, like, no, I have a plan. I know what this movie is. I'm shooting it on 70 millimeter film, and we're going to release this bad boy on IMAX. That's the power of Sinners right there. Saying, no, you want me to do this? We're doing this my way. I'm making this. So like, clearly that guy has a plan, and he has the pull to like kind of buck the Marvel machine. But like, there was way too much in that machine just going like, more.
Yeah,
Like the
I'm
script's
sorry,
not
dude.
even
What-
finished. Like,
What other recent Academy Award winning director do you have lined up to direct your movies? Oh, I'm the only one? Oh,
Right.
well, if I were you, I would, I don't know, shut the fuck up.
yeah, you chase Chloe Zhao out of here.
Right.
Yes. Well, God bless him, because that Ant-Man and the Wasp, but Quantumania also just had rewrites and just VFX hullabaloo all over the place. That movie became a bastardized version of what it otherwise could have been because of that same machine. And so it's just very upsetting. It's almost as if that movie isn't even canon as a result. Like, you know, that combined with all the Kang stuff too. Well, the Jonathan Majors stuff, not the Kang stuff.
Yeah.
But like, you know, it just sucks to see that happen, man, because you know what is that saying? Like, you can't this is why we can't have nice things or something like that. Because you give us nice things for too long and we're just gonna mess it up, bro. It's too bad, man. But
Yeah.
I am not shocked one bit. Just to kind of take it back to your initial question about Gen Zers, doesn't surprise me one bit. And honestly, I could get off my lawn guy and say, no, y'all need to just stick with it because it's great. But I get it. I understand the frustration. It's just something that's supposed to be entertainment. It's your responsibility to make this consumable for me as an audience member. Don't make me a partner in the comprehension of your content by essentially mandating that I have to accept whatever your process is. And on the top of that, I have to accept doing all of this homework and having to do all of this research and having to do all of this. Like, the MCU did not start out that way. It started out very simple. 3 franchises with a bunch of supporting characters. Those 3 franchises get their own movies, and then we world build around that.
Right.
10 years in, we get the Avengers. They handled it very well.
Right.
And then things went off the rails and they got greedy. That's what happens.
They lost track of. Stan Lee once said that every comic is somebody's very first comic. And so you have to write that comic as if they don't know anything about the world. Like, you have to be the one to introduce them to this world, whether it's a well-established character or a long-running series. At some point, some new kid's going to join on, and this is his very first comic. And I think that they lost track of that with the movies. Like, we don't always need an origin story, but you do have to at least, like, treat it as if, okay, if I've never seen a Marvel movie before, what attracts me to this movie? Why am I watching this? What's the hook?
Yep. Absolutely.
Very well said. Very well said. It is fun to watch people cannibalize, and I've talked about this with several times, like the just the shit on everything, like YouTube channels that just all they do is like for example, I don't think the last 2 Marvel movies, they didn't hit the box office success that they wanted, but I don't think that was because of the quality of the movie. I really like Thunderbolts and I really like Fantastic Four in terms of the quality of the movie.
A lot. Yeah.
Same. Yep.
But like, people go on and they shit on it, and it's funny. It's like they need Marvel to keep making stuff, good or bad, just so they can get clicks on their channel shitting on it. It's like they cannibalize the one thing that's giving you a platform, like, because nobody watches your deep dive on, like, and I'm gonna pick maybe Backrooms because it's like popular. Like, nobody's watching like deep dive on The Devil Wears Prada 2 and why this movie sucks. They'll be like, it's not for you, I don't care. But you say like a franchise, like why Star Wars sucks, and everybody's like,
that's right.
I'm really sorry I bit your hand, but also, can I have another treat, please? Please, can I have another treat?
It's hilarious to watch the internet economy. Keep making it, please, so I can shit on it so YouTube can pay me.
And that's the point, right? The point is, it doesn't even matter if the movies are good or bad. They just need to be made so that I can have a reason to exist. Like that's what this is, man. And that's somewhat relevant to the echo chamber point that I was making when we first started the show. You know, at a certain point, people are going to complain no matter what. But whether the movies aren't always bad. But have they missed the mark from time to time? Sure. But it's gotten to a point now when those criticisms were valid. Now that Marvel and Disney have dug themselves into that hole, they have to live with the reality that even when they do it right, it's still going to be bitched about, because like they created in a weird way their own self-contained bitch economy.
Bitchnomics.
Self-contained bitch economy.
Yeah,
they want that on a hat.
Put that on a t-shirt. Like they created their own self-contained bitch economy where the act of complaining about the movies in and of itself is its own ecosystem,
right?
Regardless of whether the movies are even good or not. And I agree with you 100%. I love Thunderbolts. I thought Thunderbolts was great. Conceptually, it's difficult for me to wrap my brain around the idea that group is a one-to-one replacement of the Avengers. I struggle with that because the Avengers have Tony Stark and the God of Thunder and the Hulk, and all of these otherworldly superpower beings, and then Thunderbolts is, the Winter Soldier and
three washed up Captain America wannabes.
Yeah. So conceptually, I'm finding it hard to wrap my brain around that idea. But whether the movie was good or not is beyond question.
You got to think of it like this: it's they're not getting the best of the best. They're getting whatever's left. This is the leftovers, like the Tony Starks, the Thors, the Bruce Banners, those guys are gone. And so now it's like, okay, so we'll take a little bit of this and throw that with this, I guess. And I guess it kind of works. It's taking the leftovers and making whatever kind of stew you can out of just like, well, I got to get them fed.
It leads to a good debate, and like for plot points down the road in terms of like Sam Wilson's. But you got to remember, the last time we actually had an Avengers team that was formed at the start of a movie was Avengers Age of Ultron. There's not been an Avengers team formed. Like by the end of Endgame, everybody was dubbed an Avenger for like a day. But like they broke up in Civil War. Like there was no Avengers team leading up to any of that. So that's the last time we've had a team.
True, yeah.
So it's like out of necessity, being the mother invention or whatever. It's like, I guess we're up, so like nobody else is. Like you got people arguing about Captain America being black still, so we're just like, we'll take the other two shitty versions. I don't know, whatever. like, which is a reflection of the real world and the the MCU verse. It's like whatever, man.
But just the only thing that concerns me about that is I hope that they're able to pull off convincingly, like Doomsday, for example. It's going to be another crossover event where there's going to be all these other characters coming into the fray. But there's been a note in my opinion, post Endgame, there has been a noticeable lack of world building. So we have these disparate movies that are being made within the same saga that they're calling the multiverse saga. But the movies that have actually dealt with the multiverse have been Doctor Strange 2, Spider-Man 3, the Loki television series, and I'm struggling to think of what else.
Quantumania to an extent.
Quantumania a little bit. Maybe WandaVision just a little bit.
Right. So like but everything that we've got, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, we've got these other Thunderbolts, we've got, Fantastic Four, I guess you can lump into that bucket because it takes place in a different universe.
Sure.
But it's its own self-contained thing.
Right.
So
there's no interaction with the other multiverse.
So I think the lack of world building noticeably is going to be, they've got a tough job ahead of them in terms of like making it make sense why these characters are now doing what they're doing together with the lack of world building, which speaks to your point about because now that I think about it, there has been no Avengers team formed since the conclusion of Age of Ultron. So with the lack of world building to explain the formation of the team conceptually, we're basically going to I think, get dropped right into Avengers Doomsday, seeing the teams being created on the fly with no necessary context as to how it came to be this way. I know that there's the post-credit scene from Fantastic Four, which shows the ship flying into Earth 616, but we don't know why they're there. We don't know how that happened up to this point. We just know it will happen. So it's just going to be interesting to see how they handle all that.
It's the last movie. They're re-releasing Endgame like a month before. One, so they can make a push to get that #1 spot back over Avatar. And two, they're re-releasing it with like Luda. Underrated, man. I love Ludacris. But anyways, and then so to get the #1 spot back, and two, because they're re-releasing it with like footage that's going to link it to Doomsday, because I think they're realizing, okay, what is the last movie that everyone actually saw that we can pick up from? And they're like, Endgame. Let's just make a sequel to that. Sequelizes that as much of that, where you can take as much of the foundation of that and all the other stories we've told. What's the through line using that movie? Because we know people saw that, right? So
understandable, but what does that mean? It's not going to be 3.5 hours long.
Yep.
Are they adding? They're adding stuff onto it. It's going to be like a 4-hour movie now.
Yeah, yep. I think they're adding like.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to get my money anyways.
Yeah, they're going to get mine too. Right. But again, man, like all these contrivances, like the movie was already damn near as long as Titanic, and we're
I think literal Titanic.
Yeah, yeah, and I get the idea behind that, because you're right. That is probably the last one everyone saw. But damn, the movie was already long enough. But I guess you got to do what you got to do. But, the multiverse saga has been very DC-esque in terms of a rush to get to the next movie without focusing adequately enough on the world building.
Agreed.
Agreed.
It's going to, time will tell, like when they release this in December, it's going to do gangbusters. The real question is, like, how long does it last past that initial like week push? Week WEEK push, of it's released that Thursday up until the next weekend. Like, what's its longevity? What's its staying power in the theaters? Because it's going to make a bunch of money up front. We all know that. But then what is the trickle down effect? What is the repetitive nature, or the repetitive cost,
The base Marvel crowd is still there, and they still are worth a lot of money, but they're not backing it's not enough to save a $250 million movie anymore. They got to find a way to make movies cheaper, like point blank period. Yes. You make an $80-100 million movie, you can make bank off that because you still have a built-in audience doing that. But just thinking like every movie will be $200 million, everything's going to gross $1 billion. Like, that popped. That's over. So we'll see.
Yeah. That's funny. I actually thought about that. I thought about whether the current MCU fatigue, how much is that going to carry into the performance of Doomsday? Oddly enough, and we're seeing proof of this as we speak, and we're probably going to get into Spider-Man, but oddly enough, Spider-Man is just its own entity in that it's immune. Spider-Man is one of those characters that is immune to this kind of thing.
Batman too.
Yeah, absolutely. You cannot use Spider-Man as an indication of the revival or the resurgence of the MCU. In my opinion, I don't think that you can look at Spider-Man Brand New Day and conclude from that, the MCU's back, because Spider-Man is just he's such an iconic, endearing character that it transcends. Spider-Man transcends all this kind of stuff. So, Spider-Man is going to cross that $1 billion mark easily. And so that's already going to happen. But does that mean that built-in audience is going to carry over into Doomsday? I'm not 100% sure about that. I think it's entirely possible that the fatigue is still firmly in place to the point that come Doomsday, that that baseline is going to be there, but then maybe it'll experience a 40, 30, 40, 50% drop from one week to the next, which would be crazy to see. Because Avengers movies historically have never done anything like that, but we are currently in historic times.
In more ways than one.
Yeah. We'll see. So, I know the pre-ticket sales for Doomsday set a record on like that Thursday. Like the day I bought mine already, but like it was damn near sold out everywhere. And so it's making $20 million on a Thursday night. Like, that's a good sign. So, but we'll see again. That doesn't bode well for the week after, but like, that opening weekends it's gonna do gangbusters. So
it is. It's gonna be epic, man. My most enjoyable. I have 2 movie going experiences that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace in 1999, and Avengers Infinity War. Those two experiences, being in the theater watching those movies, are burned into my brain. I'll never forget it. It's a literal experience.
Nice.
So if they can recapture that, I'll be there. Absolutely,
Yeah.
I'll be there for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man.
But that feeling
chasing that nostalgia, chasing that feeling of like, I remember this.
Yeah, for sure. But being in the theater watching that stuff, like, it's an event. It's more than just going to the movies. It's an event for sure.
Shit. Well, how about this? On that note, we're going to take a quick break from our sponsors, and we'll be right back, y'all. Michael, who's our sponsor today?
Our sponsor is Nostalgia. Remember when? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
We'll be right back, y'all.
And we are back from our sponsor, Nostalgia. We're throwing out the peace signs in every single photo. That's how we do.
The Wu-Tangs, all that.
That's right. I just want to let the audience know that unfortunately, MD3 had to be let go. I do now have a new co-host, Jarvis. I would love to offer you our standard rich and famous contract here at the Whatcha Been Watchin production studios.
I accept, and as my first act as acting co-host, I would like to hire M Duddies onto the show.
Triple the pay.
Yes, as a correspondent.
The guy in the field.
That's right. So what's 3 times 0?
I know, right? So this is my plan I had behind this. I don't know if y'all, this is my 5-point plan. Let's see if we can get my head out of the way. This is a 5-point plan, but I forgot. It's step 1, get JV wins on show. Step 2, record show. Step 3, question marks. Step 4, cash out. But it's still somehow a 5-point plan. I still got to work on that 5th step. Putting all my plans back there, sirs.
Hell, we don't even use whiteboards. We just need a giant piece of writing paper.
That's what that is. I taped it up crudely, in fact.
We're taking it back to kindergarten, son. We're drawing sunshines and smiley faces.
Yeah, dude.
Everybody gets a piece of the art board.
Talk about nostalgia.
After
all
this,
right.
we're all gonna have circle time and a nap.
That'd be so dope. Dude, that'd be so dope. Anyways, all right, we are here to ask the question, Mr. Jalvis himself, my good friend. What you been watching, my guy?
Oh, my friends. I had a very pleasurable viewing experience over the weekend. I went and watched Spider-Man Brand New Day, and I was very pleased with what I saw. I thought it was a fantastic movie. I believe that in the MCU, Spider-Man has vaulted into second place in terms of in terms of like solo franchise, movies where one character is the central character in a series of movies. I still have Captain America #1, and that's largely
Really?
I do, and that's largely built off of the strength of Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Captain America: The Winter Soldier, in my opinion, remains the greatest MCU movie of all time. And I know that there are other.
I'm not going to argue with you, but I see the logic.
Yeah,
I see it.
The reason why I feel that way, real quick before I keep going with Spider-Man, is because for me, Captain America: The Winter Soldier was the first MCU movie that kind of took things to the next level in terms of me watching something that I hadn't seen before. That movie was like a spy thriller masquerading as a comic book movie.
Yes.
It very much in the same way that like Rogue One was a military movie masquerading as a Star Wars movie.
Yes.
Like Captain America: The Winter Soldier was like Jason Bourne, James Bond stuff with Captain America in it. I believe it's the first one that was directed by the Russo brothers, who just kind of speak the Marvel language. And it was just, it was next level stuff. To this day, it remains my favorite MCU movie.
I think the Russo brothers did the
first Captain America.
first
That
Captain
was
America.
Joe Johnson. That was
That
Joe
was
Johnson.
Joe Johnson.
Yeah,
You're right.
I thought
Director
so.
of The Rocketeer.
Yeah, yeah.
Which shows that, which is also, can we talk about The Rocketeer for a second? How good that movie was? Because
Do you have a top 5, Jay?
Off the top of my head, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Infinity War, No Way Home.
ooh,
And then after that, like spots 4 and 5 are tricky.
they always are.
Yeah, 4 and 5 is a trick. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy was fantastic. But you know, I also love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I'm not as big on Thor Ragnarok as most people. Most people really hold Thor Ragnarok in high esteem. And I think it's great, but it was also just really, really goofy.
Yes.
But you know, I'm not gonna take anything away. 4 and 5, I'm gonna go Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. And these are not in order 4 and 5. These are just the 2 that I have left.
Talking about hard times.
Maybe Captain America Civil War.
Wow.
Maybe
Okay.
I might go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, man, that was the one that introduced us to Spider-Man. So
Yeah. I really do. I hold the Captain America movies in very high regard. I do. I just think that they were next level stuff. You know, not to take anything away from the other movies, and there's really no right or wrong answer with any of this stuff. But I just think that the 3 Captain America movies were powerhouses, 1, 2, and 3.
sure.
But yeah, so I think after the Captain America franchise, Spider-Man is very closely in second place, in my opinion. But Brand New Day was great. I'm not going to say that it was better than No Way Home. I just don't feel like getting into that. I think that they're both in their own right great for different reasons. Brand New Day, though, I will say, it reminded me of watching Spider-Man the Animated Series. I felt like I was watching a movie version of Spider-Man the Animated Series.
Okay.
And any millennial who follows Marvel knows the cornerstone of any Marvel fan, I think our age, is the 90s cartoons.
Yeah.
You know, X-Men the Animated Series, Spider-Man the Animated Series. Brand New Day to me was like a movie version of Spider-Man the Animated Series. Very Manhattan-based, very New York-centric, on the ground level, taking out New York criminals, fighting this unseen force that we haven't seen before. You know, it was there was, you know, in the latter seasons of the animated series, there were a lot of multi-series stories where it was like to be continued, where it was just 1, 2, and 3 episodes. There was the one episode where Spider-Man travels to Russia to uncover the mystery of the 6 Forgotten Warriors, and it turns out to be a Red Skull and Electro thing, which you didn't really find out about until like the 3rd episode. So that's the kind of thing that it reminded me of. Like halfway through the 2nd act, you learn that Jean Grey is in the movie.
Spoilers, by the way. We should put this out here. Yeah. This is going to be spoiler heavy. So
spoiler alert. But yeah, man, it was. And then you know you have Frank Castle's also in the movie, and you know now the Department of Damage Control. That's a new-ish element that's non-Spider-Man the Animated Series related. But still, though, those disparate elements all within the Spider-Man world coming together to make this seamless experience is kind of what it reminded me of. So I thought it was great, both in terms of like me just watching the movie and saying this is a great Spider-Man movie, but also for those other reasons where it kind of tapped into, you know, my experiences growing up as a kid, forcing myself to wake up at 8 a.m. on Saturday mornings to watch Fox Kids.
Yes.
And, you know, Spider-Man the Animated, it was the benchmark of that and X-Men. So
shout out to Miss Jan and Tony O.
Yeah, it was just great, man. It was a great movie all the way around. I give it 2, 3 thumbs up. Spider-Man is really, again, hasn't missed a beat between Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home, and now this one. Every movie has been great, if not excellent.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I think this movie was, I mean, all of the Spider-Man movies have been very heartfelt, and I think that's essentially that's at the core of what Spider-Man should be. Is he should be relatable in terms of like, not only does he have the problems of being Spider-Man and trying to save the day, but also like the rent's due and my Aunt May's mad at me, and how do I, especially in this movie, like how do I justify doing this alone when I feel so alone, and trying to rectify the problems of the past and find my new, or at least rekindle old relationships that were important to me without bringing in all the old trappings of the trauma and the danger and all that, So this is at the core what Spider-Man should be about, is a guy who has problems. Also, he's a superhero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Although they don't quite explain how he is paying for all this.
That's why I like Jay.
He does have a very like laboratory rich apartment in like New Brunswick, and it's like, what? How?
Yeah, he's got this AI interface and all these other things, and he has the materials and the means to, update his equipment and the web shooters. And how is he paying for all this? Like,
three theories. Three theories.
Cryptocurrency.
Yeah, crypto bro is one.
That's right. That's right. You got to know about spider bucks, son.
Yeah, and then he cashes out. I think one, it's either Tony Stark set up a fund for him, because Pepper Potts is still alive in the world. So Pepper Potts is like, hey, get this kid what he needs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The Peter Parker Foundation or whatever. Yeah.
Mary Jane, I don't know what Uncle Ben did, but I mean, I don't mean this mean. There's a theory that either his parents or Uncle Ben was a first responder in 9/11. And so there's a fund for that. And now with them passing, that could be that, or Aunt May left him a little something too. But that's because like that apartment on the skyline, he's like, oh, it's got asbestos. Like that's $4,000 a month. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let's be real here.
Yeah, I heard.
It's so funny you said that. I was stupid. You can see my wheels turning, Jay. I'm like, y'all missing something.
Yeah, that New York City real estate don't play, man, from what I hear. So I always like that was, I don't know, I think weird stuff like that. Like I'm watching the movie and I'm like, how can he afford to do this? Like I'm not seeing him work. At least in the Tobey Maguire movies, he was a bike messenger. He was delivering pizzas. Like, he was doing the Daily Bugle picture, photography. We saw that. Like I can assume based upon that, he's bringing in checks somehow, but he's just rolling in, he's just doing his thing in this movie, and we don't see a single damn check. Like, how the hell is he doing this stuff?
It's gotten bad when our suspension of disbelief is not from Spider-Man turning into an actual spider or any of the other nonsense. We're like, this is the part, like, this is where I draw the line, good sir.
That's the millennial being like, wait a minute,
high school,
how's he affording all this?
Because he had to drop out of high school to get his GED because nobody remembers him. So he had to retake his GED test. We're like, that's our suspension. That's how bad the real world has gotten. Now we can't even enjoy Spider-Man. Just like we have to make up excuses. Like somebody had to leave him some money. This ain't it.
So you're telling me Spider-Man's a Nepo baby?
He couldn't afford the web fluid anymore. So out of necessity, he evolved into organic. He's like, it's cheaper and more effective. I can't afford this shit anymore. That's right. That's where we draw the line. That's how bad it's gotten out here, folks.
Oh my God. But again, not crazy.
I know.
I can't say any of that is crazy. I can't.
Yeah. No, it's I think you hit the nail on the head. And what I'm really appreciate about these is I don't need them all to be like, they're really only in competition with themselves. And you're right, Spider-Man is not the barometer to use to go, is the MCU back? Because I know people that hate the Batman, and guess what? That movie made a ton of money. Right. Like the Batman 2 is going to make a ton of money because people just like Batman. It's just something about him. It's like all the rest of the DC, whatever James Gunn has got, could flop. I hope it doesn't, but it could. Batman 2 is still going to make all the money. You know what I mean?
Speaking of which, I am really looking forward to this new Clayface series. I don't know if you guys have seen
it's a movie. It's not a series, but yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys have seen the trailer for it, but I mean, it looks like a Cronenberg body horror thing, which I am all about. Like, I love that shit. And so I can't wait for that. Sorry, side
you're good.
tangent, but
Well, they're doing the smart thing and making a cheaper horror movie that's not going to be dependent on, we're not making a $200 million Clayface movie.
right.
Like, can we do this for 40, 50 mil? Cool, get it done.
Yeah.
right.
Anyways, but no, like these Spider-Man stories, man, they are as big as they are very personal. And that is the joy. Like when he's jumping off the roof or whatever, it's like he's clocking into work. You know what I mean? And like that zoomed in shot of his eye, it's like he's just joyless. And it's like, I'm giving for this city. I'm giving for this city. And it's just kind of like, it's the reward in itself. But, you know, like, what is it really? And so that's what I appreciate is the isolation that they show in this. And I was saying on the short, we're just going to chop it up about the movie now, but like what this movie does right, and it does have some flaws, which there are nits to pick or whatever. One, I agree with you. It is very much so like on the next episode of Spider-Man. And if you kind of weren't paying attention, you would feel like this is almost like a series of like Spider-Man vignettes where you're like, this sequence was awesome. I'm not really sure how that correlates to this one. But if you actually watch the movie, it does make sense and it does have a pattern as to why they're doing what they're doing. So props to them for that, because we all want to see Spider-Man crossover. Like that's what the Spider-Man team ups are what drove Marvel Comics for a long time.
Oh yeah.
But what this movie does right in terms of a Spider-Man movie, in terms of like the way I mentioned it in our short review, like the way he swings through the city, the velocity at which he swings feels more real than any other Spider-Man movie I've seen. The way he fights, and I mean this as a compliment, it feels like he's in a video game. And they did outright steal one of the finishing moves from the Insomniac game.
They did. They did.
But like in Batman vs Superman, like when Batman fought, when he broke into that warehouse and he was wrecking shop on those thugs, that was the best part of that movie.
Breaking Bad, yes. I was like, this is the most Batman shit ever. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Just sheer brutality and tactics perfectly intermingled.
Yeah, and it felt like he was in a video game. So I mean that as a compliment in terms of like grab the box, throw it, then move and keep moving and jump up and drop the gadgets. Like the way Spider-Man fought in this thing, it felt like I don't need Spider-Man to do realistic poses in this. Like I want him to do the absurd like covers of like, you really can't bend that way, but it doesn't matter because it looks cool as shit.
Yeah, all the Todd McFarlane covers, you know, where it's like, well, that foot shouldn't be there, but goddamn, that looks good.
Yeah, and like the way he fought the Hulk was like, that's how I picture Spider-Man fight. Because the Hulk hit him, but he never really squared up with him. He kind of grabbed him one time and he weaseled out and he kind of got a punch, but it wasn't the full thing. So it's like, but he kept moving and kept like, using the webs, keep it moving. My agility and my strength are going to be my friend. You know?
Yeah, I agree.
Literally that scene where he first starts to fight the Hulk and the Hulk's swinging around and he can't find him. And then he turns around and Spider-Man's clinging up on his back and just elbowing him in the back of the head.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, well, yeah, that's exactly, if you were Spider-Man, that's how you would handle that. Just, okay, so the fists are in front of him. Let me just get behind him.
Yeah. Well, the use of webbing in the combat was they leveraged that the most in this movie than any other Spider-Man movie for sure. And you're absolutely right. I was going to bring that up. They went to those Spider-Man PlayStation games and took from a lot of the combat elements of the video game and incorporated them into the movie, which I thought was genius. And then isn't it true also that I don't know if it's the majority, but a lot of the web slinging was practical effects. A lot of the web slinging in the movie was done via practical effects, not so much a lot of the green screen and the VFX, because they wanted it to be as visceral as they could make it within reason. And I really do think that came across a lot. Like even when the web slinging in the movie in and of itself was its own set piece.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, and whether he was fighting or whether he was saving somebody or whether he was just trying to get to the next destination, like when he's trying to figure out what's going on with his mutation, but he's also trying to answer a call because Jean Grey's taking control of Scorpion. The part where you might think that the part where he's fighting Scorpion in the street is where the action is, but it actually starts when he's trying to actually get there because he doesn't know how to control the organic webs. And so he's just flying.
Stop.
Yeah. So all the way around, it was just they did Spider-Man correctly, you know.
Agreed.
And so they just, you know, and you can always find the flaws in most everything, but it was very good. I thought that it was I have high expectations for Spider-Man movies, period. So
Sure.
I won't say that they were exceeded, but that doesn't mean much because they were high and they were met anyway.
Right.
So
right.
I just thought that it was 2.5 hours that didn't feel like 2.5 hours.
See, I would
I'm
disagree
wondering-
on that. I definitely felt the length on that movie.
Oh, you did?
There was,
Okay.
yeah.
Did you feel the length in this one more than No Way Home? Because No Way Home was longer. Didn't No Way Home had a longer runtime.
Yes, as with that movie and this movie, I kind of feel like they could have taken out about 10 minutes. I mean, I don't mean whole scenes, but just kind of clipping scenes here and there. They could have taken out about maybe 10 to 12 minutes and it wouldn't have affected the story at all. Just as much as I like the interactions with him and Ned, that point was sort of already hammered home. And so I think that maybe you could have cast that aside a little bit just in service of shortening the movie and keeping the audience's attention. Because that was, for me, where the movie, as emotional and fulfilling as that was, it was where the movie kind of sagged.
Mm-hmm.
So
I get that. Yeah, I get that.
It's hard to fill 3 like at a brisk pace. Like Infinity or Endgame moves like lightning fast if you watch it, and you still feel like I've been here for 3 hours. Like it's hard.
Yeah. Endgame does and doesn't feel like it's as long as it is. Like whenever I'm reading any sort of retrospect on Endgame, or someone makes a comment about the fact that it's a 3-hour movie, I'm always reminded that it's that long. Because, and maybe it's because of the huge payout towards the end. Maybe that's why. But I'm always forgetful that it's that long of a movie. But yeah, I mean, if you sit down and watch it, it really is. Where I was a little, I won't say disappointed, but just a bit puzzled is just like, it feels like Bruce Banner was added in the movie as like a cool, like it feels like the writers were saying it would be cool if we had Spider-Man fighting the Hulk.
Sure.
And so it's like, how can we feasibly make that make sense? Oh, okay, well, let's make him a subject of Jean Grey's telepathic abilities. Right. But otherwise, that was just kind of shoehorned into the movie to create a cool action sequence between the two characters.
Right.
I feel like the presence of Bruce Banner or the Hulk in the movie doesn't necessarily serve the overall flow of the story, I guess, other than if you want to consider the prospect of the creation of like an inhibitor for like mutant abilities or superpowers. I guess that's what it is. But otherwise, I'm wondering what they're doing with Bruce Banner's just all over the place, and this is more of a larger MCU observation than anything else.
Yeah.
But and I guess maybe it's the whole rights issue because he just doesn't get his own movies. But he's such a central character to whom they don't have access to be able to flesh him out fully. So they have to find various ways within subplots of other characters to put him in there to keep his own individual story going. And I think sometimes that works to varying degrees.
He just said what we were trying to say was smarter.
I was going to say, was smarter? I think you're absolutely right on that in terms of, yes, there is a rights issue. I think the deeper seated issue is that a lot of people just don't know how to write the Hulk other than a rampaging monster. I mean, you can't have the Hulk, pulling cats out of trees and saving orphans from a burning fire or something like that. Like, he's only really interesting when it's this Frankenstein's monster dichotomy of, I want to do good, but it seems no matter how much I try, I always end up hurting people, which I really respected, especially that last scene where after he rampages and tears down the building, they're wheeling in Bruce Banner, and all he wants to know is like, how many people were hurt? How many people were hurt? Did I hurt anybody? And they won't even answer.
Which, if you're worried about hurting people, why you work out of college? What is the insurance policy that college took out on hiring the Hulk on a campus?
So we're just going to raise tuition by $3.5 million.
Yeah, what are we doing here? You can't work remotely and teach from Zoom and have a little lab set up.
If the pandemic has taught us anything.
But that's just some of the stuff that I'm wondering. Like, how did we even I guess you're supposed to suspend your belief, but me, I'm just so right-brained. I'm watching the movie asking myself, why is he teaching there? Like, how did he get to being there? Like,
Yeah.
what happened to get him to be a professor at ESU? Like, why is he there? Logically, it's just he just is there, bro. Like, you're reading too much into it. He's just there,
Right.
Because the writers needed him to be there.
Right. Yes. Yeah. They needed him to be there so that he can Hulk out and we can have this
Right.
badass action sequence.
Right.
But I'm just
Which
like,
was badass.
it was.
Yeah.
It was great, and that's the best. The VFX on the Hulk were probably the best that they've been in. I don't know when's the last time he looked that good.
You brought something up about the writers not knowing how to write them. I think part of it is also, I don't think a lot of directors, and this is not a shot at the Russos. They did a great job of Thanos beating his ass. I don't think they know what to do with the Hulk. I think a lot of directors are like, is he just some CGI monstrosity we got to work around as well? And they don't really understand what to do with him. It's like, it's great when he's just raging in the background, but then like, how do you add depth to that? What do you like? So I don't think a lot of directors know what to do. And I think Destin Daniel Cretton, like, keep giving this guy movies, man. Like, the way that this movie, and I said, like, of the Spider-Man things, like, you can hate the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. Those movies look great because they do certain things. Like, when I'm watching a Spider-Man movie, I need certain Spider-Man iconography to happen, right? And like the Amazing Spider-Man 2, when he like hits the pose and like the moon's fully lit and you see the red spider on his back, like, that looks dope. It's a great looking movie. The plot brings way too much in, but like, this is one of the best looking like spider, like the suit looks incredible the whole time. The way it's shot, it's actually colorful and not drab. Like so many movies nowadays are just like, we don't know how to color this, so I don't know, just make it all gray. Or like add a, it's like modern NFL uniforms. Back in the day, they used to pop off of the screen, and now that everything's like futuristic and cool, so they got to add it like, this is midnight green as opposed to Kelly green. Like they don't know what to do, and so they're like, Destin Daniel Cretton is just like, no, make it colorful, make it like the contrast of him. This dark, almost grayish Hulk against this vibrant Spider-Man. And like when he pulls the Punisher underneath him and he's still firing up at him, it's like, that's a splash panel that I want to see. So if you got to like shoehorn in stuff to get me that, I can forgive you. You know what I mean?
I agree. It looks like a comic book.
Yes.
That's what it looks like.
Which is all I want in a comic book movie is like, just take the panel, put it on screen. Like for all the shit he gets, like Zack Snyder is brilliant at that, like just instead of doing film panels or for 300, he just put up the comic book and was like, okay, so this is what we're shooting. See this thing here? We're going to put it up on screen. That's all I want. Just take the cool stuff that I love about comics. The iconography of Spider-Man swinging and he's doing all these weird positions, and it doesn't make sense physiologically or anatomically. It shouldn't work, but it looks good, and it makes sense that like, oh, of course he's a Spider-Man, so he should be able to bend unnaturally and contort himself to fit into the space. Like, yes, do that.
Yeah, totally agree. I've always raged at the fact that they just didn't even bother trying. I'm going way back in the crates here, but I always raged at the fact that they didn't even bother. It felt like with the Fox X-Men movies, they didn't even consider the idea of carrying over the original costumes. It was a foregone conclusion before they even started writing the movie that they were going to be scrapping that and going with these black leather spandexes.
Right.
And it's fine if you want to do that.
What did you expect? Yellow spandex?
It's fine if you want to do that, I suppose, but do you know the audience that you are trying to reach with these movies? The vast majority of these people grew up with the Chris Claremont version of the X-Men. Like, that's what people are identifying, and you're basically just eradicating that because you're too lazy to try to make it work with those costumes. I think simple creative decisions like that, and this may be just me, maybe I'm thinking too much into this, but I have a theory that I can't quantify, that creative decisions like that dovetail into other creative decisions that culminate in things not working the way they should, right? You might think that costume choices and set pieces and things like that don't really matter, but you have to keep in mind when you're making fundamental changes like that, you're making other fundamental changes to accommodate the initial fundamental change that you made. So I just kind of think that all those things are correlated when you do that. And I don't think it's a coincidence that you see Doomsday, and at least the footage that we've seen thus far, even though I think half of it at least is not real. The footage that we've seen thus far, you've got the X-Men in their classic in classic costumes, you know, and that's not a coincidence. There's a reason for that. Like, there's a reason why Gambit is wearing the trench coat with the body armor and the purple thing. Like, there's a reason why we're seeing that in this movie, because it has to do with the lifeblood of the story in a lot of ways. And to fundamentally change that, in my opinion, is to fundamentally alter the movie itself. And so Spider-Man doesn't do that. And for the most part in the MCU, he has not done that. And I've just always appreciated it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. They've done a really, really good job of sticking true to the character as much as possible in terms of, you know, Peter Parker is, I don't want to say troubled or traumatized. I mean, he is troubled and traumatized, but it's the story has always been Peter Parker dealing with his own issues, and then also Spider-Man having to deal with his issues, and how do I juxtapose or bring those two things together into a cohesive unit. And so they've done and he's always been, you know, when he's Peter Parker, he's a little bit, I don't want to say downtrodden, but he's a little bit unsure of himself. He's very inconsistent in his thoughts and actions. Whereas Spider-Man, every time he's under the mask, he's confident, he's witty, he's charming, he's all the things that Peter Parker wants to be, but he can't be until he puts on that mask of anonymity.
Yeah,
Spider-Man. I agree. This movie, it was so drab being Peter Parker that like the Punisher was the comic relief.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah. You know it's a dark Spider-Man movie when John Barenthal is like working his way through it, and you're like, oh, that was funny.
But he was like Big Brother in this. But what they did do is they did something that Michael and I have talked about this on the show many times, where it's like Spider-Man. It was a little bit of a tangent here, but like we had a talk recently about how Superman is super not because of his abilities, but because of his ability to show restraint. Right, where Superman could just end whatever he wanted to, going like, nope, we're not doing this. Snap, see ya.
Yeah,
like, he's super in his ability, and Spider-Man is very much so the same way. And you saw it when he raged out on the Scorpion. He could have ripped that dude apart. There's a comic line, because comic books, Dr. Octavius, Dr. Ock, takes over Spider-Man's body, and the first thing he does is haymaker somebody, like almost kills the guy. And he's like, he realizes,
literally shatters his jaw.
Yeah, he's like, oh, this guy could have killed me whenever he wanted to.
Yeah,
right. And so Spider-Man's ability under the mask is his restraint, but it's also, and this is what I think you're a lot like me in this, Jay, and this is a compliment to you as just a man and human being. And Michael, I think you do a fine job of this well.
Also, you're included.
No, but like there's a commonality here in the fact of whatever shit we have, we try to not take our shit out on other people. So whatever, like, life's a long running kick to the urethra. You know what I mean? And I can choose to like sit there and go, F you for this. And we know all sorts of people that's like, dude, I get you. Like, woe is you. But like, we try to treat it with like a certain amount of like, hey man, like I'm gonna meet you where you're at kind of thing. And it's not that we can't be ourselves and be down or anything like that, but we don't want our shit to be your shit.
Yeah.
Right.
And Spider-Man is super in the fact that when he puts on that mask, he's like, I have every reason to rip you apart and take out all my aggression, but I don't. And I am super from my restraint. And he's also with the Punisher acting the way he does, where he's not like, he loves him like a big brother. And you can tell, like, but they do something in the DC version of this character is Nightwing, where if you think about Nightwing, Dick Grayson grown up, the first Robin, his parents got murdered in front of him, right? He has every reason to hate the world and hate everyone in it. He goes and finds Bruce Wayne's while he is a billionaire and he does get the benefits of that. It's a pretty abusive relationship. It's like, I'm going to parade you about
it's very one-sided.
Ridiculous costume in front of the most heinous people that Gotham has to offer, and you're going to be my sidekick.
So I'm going to be wearing body armor and gauntlets and blades. Put on these short shorts and the little little pixie boots. And
because I don't want to.
What?
Yeah, because I don't want to be alone.
Gay thing?
Yeah, but it's like because I don't want to be alone.
Sure?
And so like Nightwing is the best of us in that world. He's the hero that everybody loves. He's like, he has every reason to be a complete dick at all times, but literally, not a play on words there, but he's not. And Spider-Man is like the most beloved of, like, he is the best of us, right?
Yes.
And they do a good job with Jean Grey at the end being like, oh yeah, this dude's friends with the Punisher. He bridges the gap to the X-Men. Like, he is that glue that you're talking about. And in the end, when you get a good Spider-Man story because of that, it's like, oh yeah, this is why this guy's super. It's his humanity. And like my favorite scene in almost all of Marvel, one of my favorite sequences comes from the first Spider-Man Homecoming movie. And it's not him wearing a suit. It's when the Vulture puts him in his car and they find out who each other are.
Yeah.
And you think about that scene, it's a grown man pulling a pistol on a teenager saying, if you get in my way again, I'm going to murder you and your entire family.
Yeah.
And he says that because of, this is my livelihood. And I don't care if you're Spider-Man or not. Like, that is one of the most powerful scenes that the MCU's ever done for that reason, because it shows Peter Parker going like, despite this, I understand this guy. Right. Spider-Man has to stand between you and what potential.
I understand what the consequences for Peter Parker are. However, Spider-Man can't let that go.
Yeah. So much so that he walks out on his daughter in the prom. Like, that was a big, Holland did a really good job with that too. You can see the internal conflict because he's wanted his entire life. He's had a crush on this girl for as long as he can remember. And in that moment where he can get what he's wanted as Peter Parker, he has to renege and leave because he can't allow, the Vulture to do what he was planning to do. That's a very good point there. I love that. I mean, and speaking of these, once again, just to harken back to the animated series, the crossover event where Spider-Man is trying to get a handle on what's going on with his abilities, and so he goes to the Xavier Institute for the Gifted to try to figure out why it is that I am losing control of my abilities. And Charles Xavier is basically trying to explain to him the same thing that he explains to mutants, which is you need to better embrace who you are. Spider-Man is looking for a cure. Xavier's not offering him a cure. So he ends up leaving, going back to New York City, and then the X-Men come over because they're dealing with, I forget the character's name, that's trying to use mutation as a weapon or trying to weaponize mutation. And then he ends up getting caught in his own technology, and it becomes this giant mutant rage monster. And so that whole story playing out the way that it did, once again, it was a crossover event, but it was still grounded in Spider-Man's struggles of trying to understand what's going on with his abilities and how to best reconcile them. So like all the way around, like this entire movie just reminded me of what it was like to be watching these self-contained Spider-Man stories. Even though this thing is a part of the MCU, it's also not. It's also deeply grounded in it being a Spider-Man story. It was just very effectively done.
Yeah, agreed. Spider-Man has always done the Spider-Man franchise has always done a very good job of establishing itself as an independent franchise. I mean, and that might have something to do with Sony owning the rights or whatever, and not being able to blend so much more into the MCU as I think Kevin Feige would like. But to its credit and to its benefit, it has worked for this franchise in terms of Spider-Man is very much an insular character.
Yeah. I mean, he works well that way. There's no Spider-Man Jr. that gets right along. Like, he's kind of been solo dolo. He'll take on a protege, but that's more by nature of the job in terms of like, dude, I was there. Like, there's only one other person that understands what you got going on. My question to you, do you have something, Jay?
No, I was trying to find the name of that character. I hate it when I brain fart I hate it when I brain fart like that. I think was it Landon Donovan? I think that was the name of the character. He worked for Wilson Fisk. He worked for Wilson Fisk, and they were trying to weaponize mutations.
I remember the episode. I can't remember what that guy's name was, or what the Marvel character was.
Yeah, they kidnapped Beast. Beast was going to be the test dummy for the experiment. Spider-Man comes in, folds everything. He ends up falling into the vat of chemicals because that's what always happens. And then he mutates, and then Spider-Man.
Damn, these random vats of chemicals lying everywhere.
Like rain.
Man, that's going to kill me until I remember what the character's name is. But yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say he's like Rain in Mortal
That's
Kombat
right. Hey,
Annihilation.
just say whatever you want right now. Just say whatever you want right now, and we'll just dub it in right now. The guy's name was.
Anyways,
Oh,
just put it in the comments. Do something beneficial in the comments.
That's right.
Herbert Landon. That was the
There,
character's
Herbert
name.
Landon.
So look
Dr.
at that.
Herbert Landon. I'm nerding out right now.
No,
but
you good.
he eventually becomes the new Alistair Smythe, because Alistair Smythe ceases to work for the Kingpin because he like found out that the Kingpin was responsible for his dad's death. And so Alistair Smythe's like, screw you, I'm now going to be an enemy of the Kingpin. So Kingpin ends up replacing him with Herbert Landon to do all his scientific dirty work. And
That
then
sounds
he
like
ends
a
up getting,
downgrade.
it was. He got half of his body got mutated. So for the rest of his show, half of them look human and half of them look like a green,
like a
mutated
thing.
monster. Yeah.
I just know you went from Alistair to Herbert. That's a downgrade every time. I don't need to know anything about your backstory or plot points. You went from Alistair to Herbert. Anyways, all right. My question to you guys is one, how did you feel about the hand just being just a group of rowdy teenagers that need a little bit of love? That kind of didn't sit right with me. I get the fact that like you're either going to line them up and kill them or you're going to work for them, but the way they dropped that line in there, being like they're just misguided teenagers. They were out there spray painting the city, and boy, I whipped them into shape. I was like, really? Like,
so full confession, I actually missed the opening montage because whatever, there was technical complications where they couldn't find my ticket. I was trying to show proof of like, no, here's my ticket, and they were like, well, we don't have record of you. They finally let me in, but I ended up missing the first montage. So I came in at the movie where he was talking to Detective DeWolf, I think was the lady's name.
Mm-hmm.
So he was talking to her while she was on the train, and he was like, oh, I can just go break up this bank robbery. So I missed the opening montage of him kicking the shit out of like Tarantula and Boomerang and all that.
There wasn't much to it. There wasn't much to it. It was like 5 seconds each. It's just tombstones in webbing on the side of a building, and he's flying at the hand. Yeah, it wasn't much. There wasn't much to it.
It just showed the passage of time and him like cyber stalking Ned and
when we left our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man,
which was again, it was all well shot.
Yeah, it was. But again, that's the thing. Like, at the risk of overstuffing the movie, how many different elements can you put into one movie before it does become overstuffed? Because I kind of feel like the hand was a casualty of that.
Yeah.
Like, they decided that was going to be one element that was just left unfleshed, because we just can't juggle it all. So that's the only explanation that I can make of that, because they are a far bigger element in the Spider-Man continuity than what was happening, what was given to than what was happening in the movie, So I mean, that's the best I can come up with.
I would have much rather them just remove the hand completely, and instead of bringing in ninjas for some unknown reason, there's a whole prison break happening. Make that your Sinister Six moment, where all of a sudden the 6 villains that you've put in the opening montage, bring them together and have them all fight Spider-Man. Why wouldn't you just do that?
That's one way. I think it's also just Destin Daniel Cretton. Clearly, he knows how to shoot a martial arts sequence from Shang-Chi.
Sure.
Like Shang-Chi, I don't like the last act when the dragon gets revealed, but like up to that, it's actually a great martial arts movie.
It's great.
Yeah. But like, so I think they're just like, hey, you want to do some wire work with the hand? He's like, you got it. I got some cool ideas. And so like, I need him to flip upside down and fight ninjas. And again, I'm like, kind of video gamey. I don't care, whatever. But
I will say, I did love in that sequence how they followed Spider-Man's perspective. So he would like web up to the ceiling, and then all of a sudden the camera would flip and he's standing straight and everybody else is inverted. But meanwhile, he's fighting on the ceiling, or he's jumping to this wall and they're jumping into his POV and watching him, latch on and then jump off. Like, this looked like how I expect to see Spider-Man fight, it's literally taking it out of the comic or out of the video games and being like, this is the most Spider-Man shit they've ever done, ever.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's the purpose I think it served. I think it was, I think they were just there to be a part of I think they were there to be a part of excellent camera work and wire work and and choreography. Just like I think ultimately Bruce Banner was there to serve as a cool set piece for Spider-Man fighting the Hulk. I mean, they could have introduced mutant they could have introduced mutant inhibitors in any capacity that they wanted. But they chose to do it using Bruce Banner because in addition to that, you could also have him fighting Spider-Man as the Hulk, which would be cool. So
the inhibitor,
I just kind of felt like that's what they were there for.
Agreed. I think the inhibitor thing is also to kind of show a parallel between Tony Stark in terms of like, you just handed a really bad person a really great weapon against a new threat that you win of mutants. So I think that's kind of part of the reason why they use Spider-Man for that. Just to kind of show his adoration of Tony Stark. Tony Stark-ish. But I was curious what y'all thought about, did they assassinate Jean Grey's character? Because I know a lot of, when she took over MJ and like, that scene was just cruel, and she did outright murder somebody. She made an old dude walk in front of a moving vehicle. Yeah, she murdered somebody outright. Like, let's just be real here. And
probably multiple people, because there was that one dude on the bike that was when she took over the entire like kilometer of the city block. There was that one dude on the bike that just ran right into a taxi, and he just flops over like a rag doll. I was like, oh, that's a broken clavicle.
That guy's spine is out of there.
Thank God our healthcare system is set up where that guy can start a GoFundMe page right now.
Ah, shit.
Because that's what I don't know. Anyways, no, but
were you injured in the great mind control of 2026?
Right, yeah.
Call Morgan and Morgan.
That was the other theory, is that so much bad shit happens in New York now that the property rates have just plummeted. Everyone's like, every other week it's an alien invasion. I trying to walk in here.
Now we found out how Peter Parker can afford that apartment, because he's paying $400 a month of rent.
That's a little more logical, actually. I can buy that one for sure. I can buy that one.
But the problem is that you're living in the galactic invasion zone, so that's going to really drop down your property values.
Yeah. It's like the U.S. It's like the U.S. version of Chernobyl, but with alien invasions and superpowers.
You'll see some cool stuff. You also might be on the bad end of some bad stuff there.
You also might get a car flipped on you randomly one day.
It's like renter's insurance is required even though you own the house. They're like, nah. Anyways, but yeah, I thought that there's still a way to salvage her, because she is so young and so misguided in the fact of like, she did what everybody else did. You know what I mean? Like, you can't sit there and go, well, Jean Grey's unforgivable. Like, Wanda did equally as bad things, and we still kind of forgive her. And she had a made-up family. You know what I mean? They actually killed her sister. And like, he's like, I made up Vision. And or she didn't make up Vision, but you know what I mean? It was like, we were husband and wife and we had kids. It's like, go seek therapy. Like,
Figments of your imagination.
And so there are some people saying that they kind of assassinated Jean Grey's character, which,
well, it was a retcon for sure. Well, a retcon based upon how we know the character or are most familiar with her. But it was certainly an alternative take. I consider it to be a retcon. But I think if you know anything about the X-Men franchise, a lot of it is wayward souls trying to come to grips with who they are. Seeking out the guidance of Professor Xavier, learning how to reconcile their abilities and their place in the world. And in the process of doing that, they become reformed. So that to me is right in line with the general trajectory of the X-Men or any mutant character. It's always about reformation and redemption. So I'm not exactly sure I agree with the take that they, ruin her character. I mean, it's different because we've never seen Jean Grey in that capacity before, unless she's possessed by the Phoenix, of course.
I was just going to say,
Right. But beyond that, it was consistent with X-Men lore. As far as I'm concerned, it's I've been wrong. This has happened to me. My knee-jerk reaction is to exact revenge on the world. Oh, I found this place that's accepting of who I am and what I can do. I learned how to reconcile that and come to grips with who I am and my place in the world. And now I'm better for it. So I felt like that was right. That was very consistent with what they eventually plan to do with whatever the version of the MCU's X-Men are.
I'm inclined to agree.
You mentioned earlier about how we haven't seen this side of Jean Grey unless she's been possessed by the Phoenix Force. And I think this is a perfect setup to understanding how that type of thing can happen, in terms of this is a traumatized teenager who has had to fight and scrap for her very existence. And so, given power, we see already what she's going to do with it. Now what happens when she's given unlimited cosmic power, and how does she reconcile that? Like, oh, well, it's very easy to make the leap of, well, these lives don't matter, or these lives are somehow part of my revenge plot, and so they're collateral damage or whatever. Now you take that onto a cosmic scale in terms of, okay, well, now what's 100 billion lives, or what's it? What is the cost of draining an entire universe just so that I can achieve my goals? So for me, it's a logical leap to now see how we get from Jean Grey into when she finally is given the Phoenix Force. It sort of makes sense, and I see the character progression. Like they're already laying down the ground roots in terms of, I see the path. I see it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm not saying that I don't agree with that take, you know, and I'm pretty sure it is out there, but I just don't agree with that take. I mean, she's a child, number one, and number two, her powers aren't even developed. So we're still looking at a version of Jean Grey before she's mastered her telepathic abilities. We haven't seen any of the telekinetic abilities that she has, right?
You did
a little
slightly,
bit, yeah,
a little,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't
she
the
was
primary,
holding the glass on what's his name's face,
right?
Yeah.
But that was after she had almost lost control because of her anger,
Yes.
right?
True.
So like leading up to that moment, it was just her basically hopping from one mind to the next. So there's just a general trajectory of her overall arc where, to me, it just makes sense. I mean, what we saw in this movie is just the beginning. I think I rather like what they did with it, because they're starting fresh with and they're going younger with it. So there's a larger runway, right? So if we're dealing with a younger group of X-Men, we have time for them to mature and develop.
Yep.
We don't have to be concerned with them casting middle-aged actors and all this kind of stuff, right? And we're just going to be able to see how the MCU version of the X-Men plays out, because whatever's going to happen in Doomsday, the speculation, right, is that universe is going to be destroyed. Because I don't think I'm spoiling anything. This is just speculation here, right?
I mean, this is all internet rumors, so it's nothing they couldn't find online.
Right. At this point, it's all fan theory, but that universe is going to be destroyed by the incursion event, right? So that's wiped clean. And so there's just this new blank slate for how we're going to introduce these characters into this universe. I see no issue really with what they did with it. The only thing that I'm disappointed by is that the character was spoiled essentially so long ago that it was no shock who she was.
Sure.
But you know, the internet is undefeated. You can't stop people from figuring stuff out. But it would have been so cool if I would have gone into the movie not knowing who she was. But you know, you can't stay off the internet forever, so it's impossible to do that. Well, so I got it. I went in there pretty much knowing that that's what it was going to be, hoping that maybe they went in different directions just so that I could be surprised.
Sure.
But it was already a foregone conclusion who she was.
Yeah. It's unfortunately, the internet is both the most glorious and worst source of information ever, because if you want to know, the information is there. But even if you don't want to know, you're probably going to be presented with the information. The number of times I would click on a link and it would be like, we found out Sadie Sink's character and it's really Jean Grey. I was like, you can't put it in stop putting the spoiler in the title.
Yeah.
Like, because I can't unsee that, especially when you put just bury the lead a little bit, have a little bit of journalistic integrity and be like, okay, I know that, click, sell and whatnot, but also let's have some respect for the genre and maybe not ruin it for everybody who's just casually browsing Facebook that day.
Yeah. It's a come on man moment. It's like, come on, man.
Right?
You know, like
Yeah.
we couldn't do we
I'm
couldn't
gonna
do
steal the
this.
shit out of that. That's a come on man moment.
Like we couldn't do this a different kind of way. You know, it is what it is. But no, I mean, to answer your question, Duddies, I'm not into that. I don't agree with that take. I'm fine with what they did. Like I said, I have more of an issue with what's going on with Bruce Banner than anything that they've done with. I thought that they did a great job. They've really screwed the pooch with the way that they've introduced other characters in other MCU movies. This is nowhere near some of the other faux pas that they've committed with how they just shoehorn certain characters in places that otherwise don't make sense, only to relegate them either to essentially being non-existent or just killing them off because they just screwed it up so badly.
Yeah. Aldrin Killiach in Iron Man 3 comes by. I had no problem with Trevor Slattery being the fake, but when he was like, I am the Mandarin, I'm like, dude, you just ruined one of my favorite Iron Man stories in Extremis ever. But
they brought in this Green Scar, like Hulk's son, for no reason, just to be like, oh, by the way, here's my son, never to be seen again, no explanation, no nothing. It's just like, did we really need that, especially in She-Hulk, where it's already catching so much flack for just being what it is? Did we really need that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, you know, essentially, you know, introducing Super Skrull and Secret Invasion, and it's Amelia Clark, and
all most powerful being ever now. I have every Avengers power ever. You're like, where's that person been in all the movies ever?
That's right.
Like,
that's right. How come we're not recruiting them to the new Avengers? We got 3 Captain America wannabes and not 1 Super Skrull. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, like it's stuff like that pisses me off more than what they did with Jean Grey. I'm cool with what they did with Jean Grey.
Yeah, so, I'm with you. I think they built a good launch pad. I know a lot of people were bitching about it. The one thing before we get out of here, I know I kept you a little too long, is I am so glad that Punisher took the shot at the end. That is exactly what Frank Castle would do, is take the shot.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that was like, that brought me joy.
The fact that he had to deal with the consequences in terms of like, oh, I'm the one that fucked up. Like, maybe my way isn't the way. Maybe he did have this well in pocket and it was all handled. I fucked up.
Yeah, for sure. That definitely was very much Frank Castle. And it was, you know, the character's origin story too, like his reaction to knowing he almost killed Spider-Man because of, you know, the way that his own family was taken away from him, you know. So I understood the emotional response that he got, you know, when he expressed to Peter Parker in the hospital room. Also, kind of doesn't make sense. Side note, that Frank Castle, who's this murderer in New York, is just kind of walking into the hospital and no one's saying anything. Like, what are we, you know, that's another one of those things that strike me as illogical, but I'll choose to ignore it for now.
Hey, what that showed us was that hospital staff ain't snitches. That's what it showed us. They don't know nothing. They don't see nothing.
There's like this guy's doing some
this dude's name is Frank Doe, for all we know.
Like he's doing a lot of grimy shit, right? Like he's been spending like the Born Again series, which is excellent, by the way. You know, he's doing a lot of grimy stuff, and all of a sudden he just walks into the hospital and it's like no one's paying attention.
No one studied the bullet casing. You just shot him and you're hanging out here? That sounds like a pretty bad idea. Do something about it, Red.
I'll allow it. That's fine. But like the emotional response that he got to the fact that he almost ended Spider-Man was sensible given the origin story of his own character. So they just did a lot of things right with the movie, you know. They juggled what they could, and everything else just had to be relegated to whatever it was. I understood the creative decision behind it. So, you know.
I also like that was a creative use of her I guess psionic powers or whatever, her telepathy to go into Spider-Man's mind and breathe for him. I thought that was, I had never thought of that power being used in that way before. And I like when people have a creative, like, oh yeah, what if we use a power for this? I was like, damn, they may have done it in some comic a long time ago, and it just, you know what I mean? Some single issue You know what I mean? I thought that was a creative thing, being
Well,
like, no,
technically,
she's
in
gonna.
X-Men 385,
Yeah.
she did the same thing for Beast, and
Shut up,
and then
nerd.
and then in X-Men number 427, she did it for Gambit, and then shut up, nerd.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Hey, look, we've been nerding out on this show too. So I'm not about to call anybody else out on their nerddom. All right,
we love it.
but no, yeah, that's you're right. I agree with that. That was a pretty interesting use of her power. I've never seen that either. I was unaware, but I mean, Jean Grey is, again, I'm about to get nerdy again, but Jean Grey is what, an Omega 5 level mutant, right?
Omega level mutant.
Yeah, the limit of her power is unknown, so
yeah.
There's all kinds of things that she could be capable of if put in certain circumstances.
Yeah. So, all right, last question before I finally do let you. At the very end, we see. I did like the fact that MJ was like, she let him, because MJ Wood, her character is to be rude, right? So she actually, if she didn't know Peter Parker at all, she would have been an absolute asshole to him, being like, dude, I don't know you. She's mean to everyone. She gets off on that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the fact that she let him down relatively easy, being like, she referred to like that girl that the fact that she let him down easy for him, I thought was a great touch. My question is, do you think at the very end when him and Ned did the handshake, do you think that Ned remembers everything, or was that just Ned piecing together that, hey, he introduced himself as Peter and he's realizing that this guy standing before me is now Spider-Man, trying to make a new friendship? Because a lot of people are like, because he had ability with the sling ring, and this is, again, I love my geek people that theorize, because he had ability with the sling ring, that means Ned is then inclined to have certain magical power. So maybe that was him breaking Doctor Strange's spell, which to me disregards the power of what MJ said earlier. So to me, it would kind of be like, oh, Ned has a cheat sheet, but like she doesn't. And so I think it was him piecing together, like, you say you're Peter, you're hanging out. Wait a second. Because she said when he jumped out of the window, bye, Peter. And he's like,
yeah,
Spider-Man. So to me, that was him recognizing that, like, hey, this is Spider-Man. And I think that was a muscle memory thing. So I don't know.
So I read an article on IGN, and they were theorizing that Ned Leeds as a human being hadn't grown much since the events of No Way Home versus MJ, who has grown, well, certainly when compared to Ned, she's grown more as a person. She's matured or just kind of moved on past those events significantly more than Ned has, who's in his dorm room trying to piece together who Spider-Man is, right? So their theory on this is that because Ned, in terms of his internal, just where he is as a human being, is closer to where it was when they were all friends, that there's a higher likelihood that the spell could be broken because he's still in that mental space, at least closer to it than where MJ is, who has
the original state.
Right, yeah. Versus MJ, who's applying for jobs and has a new boyfriend, and so she's perhaps moved on, and so she's farther removed from that particular person than Ned is from who he was. That's what they're theorizing, which I think that's just I think that's a cool thought. Logically, it does make sense. I'm not exactly sure that that's what their intention is. I was actually of the mindset that I figured the way that I looked at it in my own mind was as conclusive as the ending of No Way Home was, we're going to learn somehow, some way, that the emotional bond that you share with a person can be powerful enough for a spell like the one Doctor Strange cast to be broken. And so maybe we're going to learn at some future date via an explanation from some other magic user or perhaps Doctor Strange himself that because of X, Y, and Z, the spell can in fact be broken, even though no one actually knows that that's a possibility. My thought was, in that moment, he remembered who Peter Parker was.
See, it's weird. I'm okay with that happening with Ned, but I feel like it would do a grave. I'm not ready for MJ and Peter Parker to be a thing, given the events of the third Spider-Man movie. I'm like, you can't wrap it up by the end of the next movie. I need a little more time for them. So it's weird. I'm okay with Ned being like, that's the power of bros. You know what I mean? But like when it came to MJ, I'm like, not for you though, MJ.
Plus, I feel like that needs to be a source of Peter Parker's discontent with his life too.
It's too rich.
Because that's a lot of what drives him. So like he needs to continue to live in agony because he can't have, that needs to continue to be a thing. So I was happy that she didn't snap out of it. I was like, yeah, because now he can continue to be miserable Peter Parker. I know that sounds bad, but that's a part of the journey of Spider-Man / Peter Parker is, damn, none of this can go right for me. Okay, well, I guess I'll continue to fight crime and be Spider-Man.
That's right. I like my Peter Parker just dark and brooding in his room, listening to Joy Division and The Cure just on high repeat, just thinking about MJ.
Right, and just miserable. Like, and if in the future we need, just introduce somebody else into the story. Bring in Gwen Stacy or Alicia Hardy, right? There's other female characters. Bring them in, So it doesn't need to be an MJ. Like y'all freely retcon these characters anyway. So why stop there? Go ahead and bring in somebody else. Let them be Peter Parker's love interest if need be, and then there can be some sort of conflict, right? Peter Parker can be dealing with, what do? I still love MJ, but I got this, and so there's more of that struggle. There's more of that internal strife.
It's
Put us in a writer's room, man. Put us in a
Hey, Marvel, we're talking directly to you. Kevin Feige, listen, call us. We're all available. I promise we are all available.
We'll clear the schedule. No, there's
clear the schedule for you.
There's like an old saying. It's like the smartest, that band Kiss that had all the makeup. Like the smartest thing they ever did was like when they washed up, they're like, we're taking the makeup off and we're going on tour, because then everyone hated it. So then the next tour, you know what they did? They put the makeup back on and they sold out arenas again. Like I feel like that's what they're doing with MJ. It's like we're stripping them away of it, so when we bring it back, you'll appreciate it that much more.
Yeah,
that's all. But that's always been the Peter Parker MJ dynamic. It's always been, will they, won't they, why can't they? Oh, they're doing good now, but we have this on the horizon. Like that's always been the bit between them.
He's always losing her.
Spider-Man can't have everything. He can't be respected and loved. He can't have a successful Spider-Man career and also be a successful Peter Parker. He can't be happy in every aspect of his life, because then we lose who he is. And that's just not how Peter Parker works. There's always going to be that inner turmoil of, this is good, but man, this part right here really sucks.
Yeah, man. He like in the animated series, she fell into the portal that took her into the next dimension. Lost her, right? And then she shows back up. Lo and behold, he finds out that she's some kind of clone created by the same scientist who created Hydro Man.
No, she was a Hydro Man creation in order to drive him crazy.
And then she ends up evaporating and she's gone again.
Like in his arms, he's like holding her, and she's like, "I love you," and he's like, "I know."
They love clones in the 90s. They're just like in comic books, like, I don't know, clone or whatever.
So he's always losing her. Like, he can never sustain that. He always loses her. Poor dude. But hey, man, that is the journey of Spider-Man. That's what makes him Spider-Man. If you remove that element, then he's not as much the character that he's supposed to be. So I don't know. I think it's good stuff. I like what they did. That is a great question, though. And I think it's genius the way they left that open-ended. With the way Ned says Peter at the end of the movie. That's some series finale Sopranos type stuff. Where it's like, did he die? Did they kill him? What happened?
Open to interpretation.
That was ingenious. Like they did that. That was a chef's kiss moment.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I think anybody else got anything on Spider-Man?
Oh, what you gonna rate it, sir? Mr. J himself.
Let's see. If I'm going to scale it 1 to 10, or a 0 to 10, I'm going to give it a solid 8. I'm going to say it was an 8 out of 10. Because if Winter Soldier is a 10 out of 10 for me and Infinity War is a 9 out of 10, then I'd go, this one's like a 8 out of 10, you know. No
That's
Way
some high
Home,
praise.
9 out of 10, somewhere in that territory. So you got to weight it based upon the other things that you say are better, right? So if I'm going to say something's better, then I have to kind of look at it in contrast. And I can give it a solid 8 out of 10. I thought it was a very, very good movie. Very well done.
Now let me ask you, what's the detractors? Like why not a 10 out of 10? What's the thing that's holding it back?
I don't know, the Bruce Banner stuff. They just need to figure out what the hell they want to do with the guy.
Yeah,
they're just doing a disservice to the character. It's just you know, he's such a pivotal character in the Marvel universe, and he's just shoehorned into these other movies to advance other people's stories. And I did think they did that this time around, even though it amounted to an excellent action sequence. Don't get me wrong, but it's just a personal pet peeve of mine with the way that they've done that with him thus far. And so that's probably why I'm knocking it. And then other than that, though, to be honest with you, it purely is just comparing it to the other movies that I think are better.
Sure.
So like if I think Winter Soldier is like peak MCU, and I think that's not that, then where is that in comparison? And so I'll just arbitrarily give it an 8 out of 10.
Right. On the sliding scale, where does it fall?
Yeah. On the sliding scale, completely arbitrary. Trust
me.
But that's kind of how I look at it.
Right. I just glad that I would say this movie is a good Spider-Man story. Just keep making good Spider-Man stories, right?
Yeah.
Good.
So, but yeah.
I will go ahead and rate it one big metaphor for puberty, because it's all about body changes, and I love this girl, but I can't express that to her. And also there's just random webbing everywhere, and like I can't explain it. There's so much web. How did this happen? My organic web spinnerets.
I will rate the movie. Thank God we finally got this crossover done, Jay. I'm very happy. Thank you for joining us, brother.
That is a 10 out of 10. This crossover was a 10
time.
out of 10 for sure.
That's right.
We definitely got to do this again, man. I had a
blast. Please. You are always welcome, sir. Anytime, anytime.
You guys are gonna make me get back into the movies again, because I gotta tell you, man, to be honest with you, if it's not an event for me, I'm lazy at this point, man. I stopped going, but this is the kind of thing that'll get me back into going on a regular basis again. Not to mention, like, where I moved, I'm in a great location where I live. I am centrally located to so much stuff, including a Paragon theater. I'm so close to a Paragon theater, I could ride my bike to it. Like, I'm mad close. So,
go, dude, go.
So I'll probably be killing a lot of time now on the weekends, just hitting that place up. I still need to actually see the Odyssey. I haven't seen that. So I actually think I'm going to do that this weekend.
The book was better.
We don't read here.
Was it better than the Armand Assante miniseries from like the late 90s or early 2000s or whenever that came out?
Because that had Eric Roberts, and Eric Roberts is the shit.
Sir, I don't know that reference, but I'm going to look it up. That you have sparked an interest in me.
There was a miniseries of the Odyssey, I believe I believe it came on the Sci-Fi Channel. I think.
Yeah, Vanessa Williams was Calypso.
Yeah. It starred Armand Assante. He played Odysseus, and it was like 3 2-hour-long movies. It was a miniseries.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got to check this out. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, bro. And I think if I'm right, Eric Roberts was the main suitor. I think so.
Yeah. It was great, man. It was great. So
well, Javis, I'll say this, man. You're one of the few people that you're always welcome on the show, man. If you got a hot take, just reach out to us, man.
Please.
Man, truly.
This has been an absolute pleasure through and through.
I'm gonna get back into the game, man. So yeah, when I see something, I'm gonna hit you guys up. We need to make this happen because this is a blast, man. I'm very happy to contribute to you guys' platform. I'm a big fan of it. You guys do movie reviews and movie takes in a very logical fashion, which is my personal spirit animal, is people being reasonable and logical. So anytime that we can get together to make this happen, man, I am all for it, 100%.
Well, hell yeah, man. Well, on that note, we appreciate that. We have a saying we like to say around here. Michael, you know it. Go watch a movie.
Talk about it with somebody that you love. And also somebody new. Why not?
Hell yeah.
Peace.
I can get down with that.
Peace.